Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Kaotikast. We are the Shadows of Vengeance. Captain Chaos and I are going to talk about something completely different.
In this episode, we're going to be discussing two major things. First of which is going to be the DC Fandome event, and second of which is going to be indie games. Do you know why the hell it's called DC Fandome? I actually have never didn't bother to look into why it's called
I don't know. That's one thing I just saw. I was thinking like DC Fandom or just anything like that. I actually don't know why the fuck it's called Fandom.
The only thing I would have been able to figure is if it like took place in a place where there's a dome, and they call it Fandome, but like as far as I know, it wasn't. It was like an online thing, so I don't get it.
Yeah, it was a mega 24-hour immersive virtual fan experience, which brings the universe of DC to life. That's it.
Yeah, but we got some pretty major announcements from this event, and some more reveals on things we already knew about. Well, I guess the major announcements would mostly be like more reveals of things that we already knew were happening, but just we got like proper trailers for them.
Yeah, like what was it? The Snyder cut of Justice League.
Yeah, so that actually looks pretty good. I have not actually seen the original Justice League movie, so I can't really say what's new and what's not, but apparently, according to people that have seen it, a lot of what's shown in the trailer is new. Or at least the things that were shown, they were, like, the dialogue was changed from the scenes that were in the theatrical cut of Justice League, that they changed the dialogue and they put some new things in there.
And
so
it's like the extended version of, like, Lord of the Rings, but with DC.
I would even say it's kind of different than that. Like, I mean, well, I guess you could argue the same for Lord of the Rings, but it's like supposedly going to be like a completely different movie. And apparently this isn't even really going to so much be a movie. Apparently it's more going to be like a mini series.
An experience is the best word.
An experience. I've heard different things about people, like, you know, the length of this movie or miniseries. Some people say it's going to be like 4 hours. Some say it's going to be 5 hours, so it's hard to say, but apparently there is a lot of material, like even when Justice League first came out, that Snyder had filmed and wanted to film that didn't make the cut. And there's also a lot of new material for this one as well.
Yeah, like he had a lot of plot, like things planned for the movie, but then in the middle of it, his sister committed suicide, so his daughter. Okay, I thought it was his sister. Yeah, and then he stepped away, and people were like, "Oh, why didn't you finish it?" And now,
some people have said that.
And now you have people coming out and saying, "Oh, was it worth the harassment?"
Yeah, so there's apparently that, you know, because so I guess I should kind of go into this. So a big part of the reason why this is happening, like, even happening in the first place, is because there was so much fan demand for it, and there was a whole movement that started called Release the Snyder Cut, and it's something that's kind of been a lot of people, like certain people, have made fun of over the years just because they didn't believe that the Snyder Cut was actually a thing that existed. But apparently, you know, those people that were kind of against the whole Snyder Cut movement have kind of been proven wrong, because it does actually exist now that we know that actually, you know, it does exist. And but apparently, yes, there were people that I don't know about the whole harassment thing. Apparently, according to some people, there were some people in the movement that might have done some bad things. And my whole stance on that is this: like, just because there are some people in the movement that did a bad thing does not therefore like tarnish whatever the movement stands for and what it's trying to do. Now, if the entire movement, or if there's a lot of people within that movement that have bad intentions and are doing bad things, that's one thing. But if it's just like a few people out of like everybody else, like, I don't think that really represents the movement as a whole. And not to mention, all these claims of harassment, I sometimes just tend to take with a grain of salt, because there are plenty of people that will claim to be harassed nowadays, which doesn't always seem to be the case. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes it is, but there's a lot of times when people will just, throw the word harassment around when it's not really harassment, or maybe it's just like one or two people doing it.
Most of these people are like they're like become oversensitive snowflakes. Like
it's just like a fringe group of people sometimes that's doing it, and they'll take those people and paint the whole movement with just those few people that have done it, and say that all of them are like this.
Yeah, you don't want to like take. It's like that's kind of like my whole thing when it comes to like fandoms. Like there are like a few people that sure they'll do some shitty things, but then you'll have the big majority of the fandom that's like, we actually want this to happen. We're not associated with them at all. Yeah. Unless you get the creepy ones, the ones that will make the the ones I'm talking about, the Rule 34 fan, the ones that do that. And it's like, I don't want to be associated with this fandom.
So I think it wasn't. I will say, like, I don't want to misrepresent it, because it wasn't just the people that were demanding for it. It was also a decision. Apparently, it was AT&T that made the decision too, because they technically like are partners of like AT&T and Time Warner or something. Like they kind of like owned the DC brand, and it was kind of their decision that this was going to happen, because the people that were in charge, I think, of the DC, I could be wrong about this. I've heard different things, but apparently the people who were in charge of like the DC movies and stuff, like some people that made the decisions about like what's going to be in there, some of those people that were against the Snyder Cut happening were kind of overruled by like the people above them working that were kind of held, like, I guess, technically owned the DC brand. So they were kind of they were like the big reason why this is really happening, because I feel like if the fan demand didn't get to their ears, the people that owned, that actually owned the DC brand, then this might not even have happened in the first place. So really, it's a combination of the fan demand and just, the people who have the money and have the power within the, that actually own the company that, caused this to even happen. So it's just two things that came together and, caused this to actually, to finally be a thing.
It's kind of like one of those things that you have to at least be grateful that it's actually coming. And it's actually a thing. Like, and that's another thing, that the whole movement, the fandom, the ones that were like targeting DC, Zack Snyder, to like going after him, sending death threats. It's like most people don't represent that at all. We actually just want it to come out.
Yeah, like that's what most people want, but some people just want to focus on the fringe minority of people that are doing stupid shit. And, just like I said, just like paint the entirety of the movement based on that.
Yeah, it's like, it's whatever. I'm glad that it's actually announced and they showed more of what they're going to show off in it. And it's more money on HBO Max.
Yeah, because as we know, Joss Whedon came in to do the theatrical cut of Justice League, and because of that, there is obviously kind of a tonal inconsistency within the movie, because Snyder did part of the movie and then Joss Whedon did like the other half of the movie. So it's just kind of all over the place, and you have all this like unfinished CG that's in the movie and it looks bad. Steppenwolf looks like he came out of the PS2 cutscene. But from what I saw of the Justice League Snyder Cut trailer, from the scenes I saw of Steppenwolf, because I was like, this is different, because I remember seeing some of the scenes with Steppenwolf from the theatrical cut, and he did not look like that. Like, his armor looks different, and it looks better in general than how he does look in the theatrical cut, which in the theatrical cut, he's just a CG monstrosity.
Yeah, it makes it does not look better.
Good. Yeah. And, like, especially when you see his face in the movie. But you didn't really see his face in this trailer. You just saw, like, him in armor.
Which is good.
Yeah. I guess the only slight criticism I could make is Darkseid, when you first see him in the trailer, looks a little bit weird.
Yeah, a little out of place.
It's just, yeah, it looks like, I know it's technically the movie's not finished, but yeah, Darkseid looks like the CG, like, speaking of CG, CG for him could be a little bit better. Like, he looks like, but you could lob that same criticism at Marvel, because when you see the earlier, like, Marvel movies where they show off Thanos, he looks weird, because he when they first showed him off, like, he looked like, he looked really strange. But then they improved it as the movies went on, until we finally got to Infinity War, where he looks almost perfect. I would say.
Like when Josh Brolin, like, they showed him off in the light, and it's like, he actually looks pretty good. Yeah.
So maybe it's just like, I would say maybe it's something that when they release the final product, maybe he'll look better. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it, especially since, I have not seen the original theatrical cut of the movie, and honestly, I don't really have much of a desire to watch it.
I kind of do, because I didn't see it.
I mean, I guess I might just to see, like, when the Snyder Cut does drop next year, what the major differences are going to be, which I'm sure are going to be a lot. But
so get the trial for HBO Max for that.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'll probably just get the trial. Because that's, like, the major thing HBO Max has right now, is, like, the selling point is the Snyder Cut.
I really wonder if I could actually watch that whole thing through, because I noticed that sometimes, like, streaming services, they'll show off, like, it's a movie, but it's almost close to, like, 3 to 4 hours.
I mean, it's like, it's not actually going to be at theaters, too, because I've seen some people make this joke. It's like, oh, man, well, let's have that, can you watch the whole thing without taking a piss or whatever? I'm like, but you're watching it at home, so you can just pause it whenever you want and just do whatever you want, or just stop watching it. It's not like you're in a movie theater.
It's like fucking pause the movie and go take a piss, then come back. It's not like you're in a fucking movie theater, but, like, being pushed past a lot of people say, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go piss. Sorry, I'm ruining your experience.
Yeah, like, I know, at least when I see a movie in a movie theater, it's like, I don't really want to miss anything, because I want to get my money's worth, and I want to see the whole movie. I don't want to go take a piss, unless it's a movie I really fucking hate. Otherwise, it's like, I will not get it.
I'm going to say this. This is kind of going off topic, because this actually has fucking happened. When I was forced to watch Cats.
You piss yourself?
No. When I was forced to watch Cats, I didn't piss. I didn't have to go to take a piss. But when Thor Ragnarok came out in theaters, I wanted to see the movie, but then I had to piss, and I missed Stan Lee's cameo. And then I get the person going, "Dude, you missed Stan Lee." I'm like, "Fuck off." I'm sorry that I missed God's Lost Nut. Sorry, I missed it.
I think the most recent movies that, like, I've seen where I saw Parasite in theaters, and that was a long movie, and that, like, kind of gave I was, like, really tempted to, like, leave. And, like, there's been, like, I think it was, like, Parasite, I saw that, and I was like, there were a few times where I was just like, I really had to fucking get up, and I was just like, I'm just not going to do it. And it's an endurance test sometimes. Yeah. Like, and then I think the more recent one I saw, I think before the whole coronavirus happened, was, like, Invisible Man. And I really liked the movie, so I did not want to, like, and I did not want to get up to go piss, but, like, when the movie was near the end, I was like, oh, please let it in. It's like,
and then it doesn't end, you're like, fuck it, you just get up and piss in your cup.
Oh, no, I'm not that desperate.
you better be.
But yeah, when it did, I was just like, okay, gotta go now.
Good lord. I'm trying to think of, like, other things that were shown off at DC Fandom. Well, since we're talking about movies, the Batman finally has a trailer.
Yeah, this was the other, like, really, like, major thing that I was excited. Like, two things I really took away, like, really hyped for from the DC Fandom event was Justice League Snyder Cut trailer and the Batman trailer. So we got teasers for the Batman where we saw, like, Robert, or I guess we could call him Battinson in the Batsuit, and Battinson in the Batsuit, and it looked interesting. Like, a lot of people had, they weren't sure about it, and I can't blame them because it's Robert Pattinson. But then again, it's like I would say Robert Pattinson has been in a lot of, has been trying to wipe
trying to wipe the slate of Twilight, because he's actually stated that anything that's like major, he doesn't go for it because Twilight kind of ruined his career.
The only thing like major I've seen, because I've seen him in like a lot of indie movies, and one like The Lighthouse and some other movies that I did like they aren't really big blockbuster movies, but I think he's like trying to get back into the spotlight again, because other than this movie, he's also in Tenet.
Yeah, the Nolan one, which is funny because he actually had some influence, or he kind of got some pointers from Christopher Nolan of how to do Batman.
Yeah, you can kind of tell based on the trailer.
Yeah, can we call it what it really is? Can we just call it Robert Pattinson beats the fuck out of Doug Walker? Can we call it that?
Beats the fuck out of Doug Walker.
Because, the thug goes, who the hell are you supposed to be? He looks like fucking Doug Walker.
I didn't even pay that much attention to how the thug.
And then you see the part where he's beating the fuck out of him. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, wow, he actually could pull this off.
That was like my favorite part of the trailer, just seeing him beat the shit out of that guy. Like,
and him go.
I was like, I really hope this movie is that, like, the whole movie is brutal like that, where he does not hold back, and he's not going to kill people, but he's just like, he doesn't. Yeah, like I like the Nolan movies were a pretty dark take on Batman too, but I kind of hope this kind of is another sort of more darker take on it. Like I'm kind of honestly hoping this movie shoots for like an R rating or something, because I'm kind of getting that vibe based on the trailer, and just how how dark in tone it is, and like how brutal it seems to be. Like I'm like, this looks like it's going to be like an R-rated movie. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just kind of gives me that impression.
It could be like a PG-13 movie that could have a hard R, but at the same time, it could be an R-rated movie. Maybe it could be, but
and I mean, this is also a Matt Reeves movie, and Matt Reeves has done some pretty good movies in the past, so I'm pretty optimistic about how this movie's probably going to turn out. I know a lot of people were complaining, because some people are actually complaining about Robert Pattinson having the eyeshadow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and people were bringing up the point, that's the thing that every other Batman has done.
It's
where like they have the eyeshadow.
Yeah, it's to cover up, it's to make the mask fit. And to make it complete.
It's just that when they take off the mask, they don't usually like show like the eyeshadow still on them, and that's just something he did in like a few scenes in the trailer where like you see the eyeshadow, and I'm like, I don't mind that, honestly.
I don't. I can say my takeaway from this is that, because apparently they were going for a younger Batman, which I would say it's trying to take influence from year one.
Yeah, they're saying this is like the second year, or like he's already, like, it's not an origin story. It's like he's already been doing this for a little while, and this is like, but he's still fairly new.
Yeah, like he's established himself as a detective, but he's getting introduced to his actual villains, like Catwoman, Riddler, and Penguin.
Yeah. Oh, so that's something else we should mention too. Apparently, like, Matt Reeves said he wanted to focus more on like the detective aspect of Batman in this movie, as opposed to like, it being more like an action movie. It's going to be more, I guess, mystery oriented, considering he wanted to focus more on like the detective aspect of Batman. So I kind of like that idea. Like, it's hopefully in that way it'll like differentiate itself from the other Batman movies.
Yeah, that'll give it a nice.
Not to mention, this is also like, apparently the Riddler is going to be like the main villain in this movie.
Yeah, I think,
which is pretty different.
Yeah, because there was only one time where the Riddler was a main villain in a Batman movie, which was Batman Forever. But now it's getting to like really darker territory. Like, he's becoming Joker-esque in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, it kind of gave me, like I said, when I first saw the trailer, it gave me like David Fincher, like Seven vibes from like what I was seeing from it.
Or also,
some people were kind of comparing it to The Crow, and I'm like,
that's also kind of true.
It could be, yeah. But yeah, I hope it's mostly just the Riddler, because I mean, I know we also saw like those thugs, they were like it looked like they had like Joker, like they had Joker gang, like clown makeup and stuff. So I'm not sure if like that's just kind of gonna be like sort of an Easter egg in the movie, or if like Joker is gonna actually make an appearance. I don't know.
Actually,
because I do remember like when before the movie came out, like they were saying there's gonna be a lot of villains in the movie. So I don't know. I hope they just mainly focus on Riddler
like,
though, and the villains are more like just Easter eggs or something.
like I'm thinking that they're not Joker goons; they're more Penguin, because you saw the colors are like white.
Yeah,
Kind of like
it could be. Also, I should mention, Colin Farrell is playing Penguin. I didn't even know that because it doesn't look like him at all. And I was like, oh, that's Colin Farrell.
and Andy Serkis is going to be fucking Pennywise. Not Pennywise.
Pennyworth. Pennyworth.
Yeah. I don't know. I would have laughed at Andy Serkis was Pennywise. Shit. Yeah, he's playing Alfred, and I can just imagine like he's going to walk in with a mocap suit, and he makes him look like an old ass man. It's like Master Wayne.
I'm not sure. Like I don't know how they're going to do that.
Oh, they make him normal.
Yeah, but this is probably like I don't know, between this and Snyder Cut. I'm not sure which one I'm more excited for, to be honest.
I kind of lean towards the Batman for films.
Yeah, maybe for me more towards Batman or the Batman, just because it's I'm a sucker for like really dark takes on like superhero stuff, and this could also just be because admittedly I'm not a big comic book superhero person, that I prefer like just this having like a more darker tone, and it kind of focuses a lot less on just the superhero aspect of it. And like I mentioned before, him being a detective and like it being more like a mystery noir film, which is apparently what Matt Reeves is going for.
I hope he does it well. That's all I gotta say on that.
Yeah,
like they also well, I'm gonna say for more movie things that I kind of don't care for. They showed off James Gunn's Suicide Squad trailer. And they also showed off.
I didn't even watch it. I'll be completely honest. Like I
showed that off. Black Adam.
Yeah, I heard The Rock talk about Black Adam, but I didn't see the trailer. Like, is it good? Or
I didn't watch it either. But from what I've seen of it, it just makes him look like a buff, roid out superhero going. Roar!
Yeah, I've heard of Black Adam, but I don't know anything about it.
Same. So, I'm out. I abstained from that one. They showed off Sandman, which I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Oh, Sandman is a Vertigo comic thing. It's Vertigo was like the darker, like adult-oriented line of DC. It was originally created by Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's more like weird and psychedelic, not really like a superhero thing. It's more like a weird psychedelic story. It's hard to explain. Like I haven't really read it, but I've heard of it. Mm-hmm. So was it a Sandman movie?
It's going to be a Netflix series, I do believe.
Okay.
But I'm kind of.
So was it like a teaser or was it an actual trailer?
I think they were just showing it off, but like I said, I'm not really caring about it. They showed off Wonder Woman 1984.
I thought that one actually looked okay. Like it could be good. I had my doubts about it when I first heard about it.
Yeah,
it looks like it could be good. I mean, I like the first movie. The first movie was actually pretty.
Oh yeah, first movie's great.
What do you think about Kristen Wiig playing the Cheetah Woman or whatever? Cheetah.
Because she's not a bad actress, but she's been in some shitty things.
It's kind of a different role for her because she's usually like in the like comedies and stuff, and she's not usually. I don't even think she's really like played a villainous character as far as I know. So
nope.
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what what they do with her. But the CG for her didn't actually look too bad. A lot of people were making Cats jokes, Cats references. But it's not that. It at least doesn't look like that. So, props for that at least. It doesn't look like the Cats CG.
Yeah, like, what was it? She was the only one role that I don't forgive her for is Ghostbusters, the reboot. So,
people were saying maybe they'll like she's trying to wash the stain of Ghostbusters 2016 off of off of her with this movie.
What? I'm gonna look up, see what else she was in. Let's see, because I'm thinking she was in the Magic School Bus, the Netflix series. Oh no, that wasn't her. That was someone else. That was
I didn't even really.
That was McKinnon. That was Miss Frizzle's sister. Yeah, Kate McKinnon was the person. And Jesus Christ, Magic School Bus rides again. And
was that a good show? Like, I hear people hated it.
Like, the Magic School Bus rides again.
The Netflix one. Yeah.
So, well, here's the thing. It was trying to cater to new audiences. They ended up bringing back Miss Frizzle, the actual person. And Lily Tomlin came back, and great, good part of my childhood, but I didn't see it. It kind of has a green eggs and ham kind of vibe. Because
green eggs and ham.
They actually, you didn't know this? They actually made a Netflix series of green eggs and ham. What? Yeah, okay. Green. Okay, I'm gonna just type this. Not the TV series. Michael Douglas is in it.
Okay. Is it an animated series or is it
animated series?
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna see what this guy was in. I'm trying to think. Because I'm trying to think of where this motherfucker came from. It was Adam Devine is in it. The alcoholics, Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in it. He plays Sam I Am, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
That's you learn something new every day. I guess I never heard of about the Green Eggs and Ham Netflix series.
It was who was involved with this shit. I'm trying to look. I know Ellen DeGeneres fucking produced this, so.
Ugh.
But I've actually seen it. It's not that bad. It's silly, but it's meant for kids, so it's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Ellen DeGeneres.
I think this is the one case where she found God's lost nut and made green eggs and ham.
she ejaculated green eggs all over green eggs.
I can just imagine she pitches it off like, hey, you know that book Green Eggs and Ham? Hey, let's make that into a series. And everyone went just
nut.
Everyone just went
nut
all day, every day. Okay, what else did they show?
I feel like we should move away from Ellen DeGeneres.
Okay, well, there's the Flash, but no one cares.
Flashpoint.
No,
you mean?
Flash. Apparently, they showed off the Flash's new costume, and I'm like, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, there are two games, one by Rocksteady and one by Warner Brothers Montreal. Which looks better?
You mean the Suicide Squad game?
Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights looks okay. I mean, it looks similar to the Avengers game, just because it has a very similar concept, it seems, where it's, it's kind of all the various different Batman family characters and all the other characters from the Batman comics. Just kind of like, it seems like it's one of those like co-op games. You team up with you and just go on different missions or something, or whatever you do in the Avengers.
Yeah,
game.
like it looks.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played
it. Looks fun, but at the same time, it might have the same problems as the Avengers. But
yeah, that's what I'm kind of worried about. Like, I just don't know if it's gonna be like, if it'll be better than the Avengers game, or if it's gonna have some of the same issues as the Avengers. But I guess we'll see. Like, I mean, all we get really is this the trailer, so we don't really have a lot of gameplay of it yet.
The same thing could be said about, what was it, the Suicide Squad game. It looks good. Yeah. It's the Rocksteady charm, but nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, It'd probably be it'd definitely be a different game from the Batman games they've done.
Yeah, like,
so I'm not sure how they're gonna approach
like
this.
they're finally playing, like, make you play the villains or anti-heroes, whatever you want to call them.
I guess villains turned anti-heroes.
More or less, I can say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's break away from DC, because we've been talking about DC and Ellen DeGeneres and all these other things for far enough.
Yeah, there's really only a few things that I really enjoyed about DC Fandome. I mean, a lot of people were saying it was better than the Comic-Con event, which was really boring, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, so I didn't even know there was a Comic-Con event.
Yeah, it was an online event, because instead of having Comic-Con this year, they did like an online Comic-Con thing, and nobody cared, nobody watched. Because it was just like a bunch of people sitting in like Skype calls or Zoom or whatever and just like talking, and it was like nobody wanted to watch it because they didn't show anything.
Who the fuck wants to watch a Discord call? Like,
well, people are watching a Discord call right now.
Okay, true. But people want to see the faces, and they're like, hey, we want to see the cosplays and all that. Nah, it's just the people that make the fucking shit. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, I think they forgot what people really liked about the event, which was just, people going there to cosplay and, just getting together and, like, just actually, like, in person going to the panels and stuff.
It's the same thing.
But no, we can't do that because of the China virus.
Well, I was going to say, like, compare Comic-Con to E3. With E3, it's easy to fucking do. Each of the fucking companies can make their own events, and it's fine. But Comic-Con,
right,
it has a lot of charm to it because you see people cosplay and they do a really good job with them. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not just comics either. Like, it's video games, it's anime, it's all this other nerdy shit.
Yeah, and it's all these other all this nerd shit. It's a big nerddom come to life. But no, the corona ruined it.
Yes, much like it's ruining everything.
But yeah, but speaking of the industry, there's a lot of independent stuff in the industry.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, and I feel like we should start off with like the games for first one, because here's my thing. This is the one thing that kind of brings my piss to a boil. I'm fucking tired of people seeing all these indie games. Like, every time PlayStation event happens, Microsoft event happens, Nintendo event happens, every fucking time they show off an indie game that looks promising, I see in the fucking comments, indie game bad, where's our Mario?
Yeah, like, I'll be the fence sitter in this scenario, because I can, on one hand, I see where they're coming from. It's like, I want my big games that I'm excited for to be announced. On the other hand, it's like, not all indie games are bad, and there are good indie games, and indie games are partially the reason why we get interesting, games that are like either AAA games or, just indie games are in general, like they not all of them are the same. There's various different types of indie games, and people don't seem to realize that. They all think they're all just walking simulators or
point and click,
whatever,
or Telltale games is what they think they are.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of those types of games. The indie games of that sort do end up kind of getting more exposure in those conferences, like those walking sim type games, or the games that are barely even games and more just like an interactive story or whatever, choose your own adventure game or something. And those are usually the kinds of games that we end up seeing at like the different showcases and stuff. They usually show off that kind of game. So I feel like it's kind of like soured people's perception of like indie games and what indie games are.
Yeah, it's like, I will agree that I can understand what people are coming from when they see an indie game that looks terrible. Goodbye Infernal High.
Oh Jesus.
Or tell me why.
That game, apparently there's a lot of controversy behind the scenes with that game too.
Like, I see games like that, and I understand where they're coming from. They want to like to spread a message, but it's fucking terrible. But at the same time, people should stop being dissuaded that all indie games are bad because one or two, or hell, 25% of the bunch are shit.
Yeah. I mean, it annoys me whenever somebody else will like see something that is part of something that I like, and they'll only see the bad things from that genre, and they'll be like, all of them are like this. Yeah. I'm like, no. It's like the same. It's okay. The same thing could be said for indie movies too, because you see like an indie movie, and it's like this just really pretentious movie, and it's like it's basically like, you know, this kind of experimental like art house movie, and it's said like, and some of these can be good. I'm not going to say all of them are like this, but there are some that are like this where it's like the director is basically saying very little while trying to act like he's saying a lot, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like he's being minimalist with it.
Yeah. And that shit can annoy people because it's like, well, you know, this is just like really, either it's like really preachy or it's really yeah, like it's just like it's too long. It takes too long to get to the point, and the point isn't anything really profound. And there are some indies that are like that, and people will take those movies and say that all of them are like that, which isn't true.
Yeah. And then what was it like? I'm trying to think about bad indie games because I saw one recently. It was called Golf. Yes, Golf.
Just
yeah,
Golf.
It's on get a chance, look it up on the PSN store. And it's so fucking terrible. It looks...
Is it a game about golf?
Yeah, but how it looks like a shitty PS1 game on the PlayStation 4.
Is it like intentional that it looks like that?
I think that's what... I think whoever made it, whichever company decided to make it, did not know how to program anything, so they used blocks, and it's gone awful.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And what other indie games out there? There are some indie games that look good, and yet are terrible. Like, a very good example, you mentioned Walking Sims. Gone Home. Everybody's gone to the Rapture.
Oh yeah, some of the Walking Sims they'll look really good.
Like Firewatch,
but they're boring.
Firewatch looks good.
Yeah.
Is it boring? Can be.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard mixed things about Firewatch. It's, I mean, it's like if you can tell an interesting story, sure, but I think the problem too is just that the indie market seems like it's kind of oversaturated with these walking sim games. So people kind of get, you know, like they're just like, oh, all the indie games are like that. They're all walking.
Yeah, like they think that they all look like that. How it looks like Gone to Rapture, everyone's Gone to Rapture, Gone Home, or they try to be super fucking preachy with their message. It's like, oh hey, this person's a lesbian.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, because we do see a lot of that kind of shit in indie games too. People with certain political persuasions that only want to push their, you know, their one political view, and that's pretty much it. You don't really see a lot of diversity of thought with that kind of product.
Yeah, it's like, I can just imagine what happens. Like, all these people that come out and say, oh yeah, our character's actually gay. And that's it. It's done. We go home now. It's like, okay.
It's like that makes your game special.
Yeah, it's like a good example of a game that it could be good, but the overall message becomes preachy, or the overall game is terrible. Life is Strange is one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think Life is Strange is bad. But the whole hipster vibe, like, I don't like it. I don't like hipsters.
Yeah, Life is Strange is a game that gives you the illusion of choice. It makes you think that you're making important choices when really you're not. There's only 2 endings for the game.
Yeah, it's not. But like I mentioned before, there are some games that have that hipster vibe, or they kind of cater to people or the whole culture of today, but sometimes they do it right. They actually get if you deliver on the story, you deliver on your message, and you have an entertaining premise to it, then fine, I'll be all up for it. Just don't be preachy.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm trying to think of other terrible indie games. It's funny, I can only think of good indie games, but when I look at the bad ones, I cringe. I think another good example of an indie game that tried to be different was Serial Cleaner.
I don't think I've heard
it
of
was essentially, it kind of played like Hotline Miami, where instead of you murdering people, you're cleaning up crime scenes. I could imagine your silence.
Well, that kind of sounds like this other game called like Viscera Cleanup Detail or something, where you're just like cleaning up like gore and stuff, and it's kind of similar to that.
It's kind of like that, yeah. Now that you think about it, but the way that's done, they made it frustrating. Like, oh hey, you get caught, bang. Oh hey, you can't carry this body. What the fuck?
What about games like Papers, Please? Like that was an indie game technically, I think.
Okay, I will say this about Papers, Please. It's one of those. That's one of those games that, when people look at it, they think this is boring. They move on. But when you actually play it, it's actually surprisingly good.
It is, because like
that gives you
like
choice. It gives you choices that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, like when you play, you realize there's like a lot more to it. There's like you actually like inspecting people's documents and denying them entry to your fictional country is kind of fun, actually. It's like, and the results of what happened from that too are like interesting, because sometimes it's been a while since I played it, but like I think like sometimes like bad things will happen because of that. Like you'll terrorist activity will be on the rise or something, or something like that. I think you're like you sometimes get negative reactions if you do something.
Like, okay.
Or there'll be like a terrorist attack, and then you have to like close the border inspection area you work in or something. I think
that sometimes it just does it on its own. But I can give a great example of it.
Yeah.
There's a part of that game where you can either join the resistance or the terrorist group, or just say fuck you and go on with your day being a part of the machine. Yeah.
And I mean, like, it seems like not much, but it's like there's a lot more. There's a lot to that. It's like these big budget games. They give you they make you think it's something like huge and impactful when you make a choice, when really it's not. You're just on it's like usually just a binary choice and not much matters. I mean, there are exceptions to this, but with indie games, it's like there's usually a lot more thought put into it.
There's a lot more creativity with it. Going back to Papers, Please, it's like, why are you trying to do all this? You're trying to support your family and earn money to like buy food, medicine, and get heat.
Yeah.
So all these games that I've played, sometimes it kind of makes you think, and it kind of reflect.
It does. Yeah, like, I mean, it puts you in the position of somebody who's just, a working class guy. Like, he just has to do whatever, he's not doing it out of any sort of malice. He's just doing it because it's what he needs to do just to survive.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to think of another game that, like...
Oh, I should mention this too. So, it's funny that Life is Strange is so, it's so just... It doesn't matter what you do in that game. Like, it's just the binary choice system. But, like, I could point to another game that Don't Nod has made that is actually really good and does that choice system correctly, which is Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Vampire, there's, like, quite a few different endings you can get. And you see, okay, so the game has different sections of the city that, like, if you kill like a pillar of that community or something, everything goes to shit. The people there start getting sick and they start turning into vampires. And then, like, the vampire hunters in the area, there's more of them, and there's just a lot more happening. You basically have to, like, either, unless you give people who are sick there like medicine or something, then the area is just totally fucked. So, like, based on what you do with whoever that pillar of that community is, like, because you at some point in the game you'll be given a choice as to like if you should fight this person because they're contracting like vampirism or whatever there is going on with them, or if you should find an alternative way to deal with it. And if and sometimes the choice isn't really obvious. Like the right choice isn't always obvious of what you should do. So sometimes you'll make the wrong choice and you won't be able to go back on it, and you'll have just inadvertently fucked yourself, and you got to deal with it.
Yeah, it gives you the. It's kind of like a telltale thing. Remember when it's like every choice has a consequence? That's a good example of a game that does that right, where it's like, oh hey, I've done this. Whitechapel hates you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I like shit like that. Whenever the choices do actually matter, instead of giving us the illusion.
I just wish Don't Nod would make more games like Vampire, because a lot of the games they put out tend to be in the same vein as like Life is Strange, but like Vampire was just like just something that was like, what was the word, like a fluke, or like something that just kind of came out of nowhere, like blindsided you. It's like, this isn't really the kind of game I would expect.
I wouldn't say like a fluke or an accident. I would call it like a diamond in the rough, essentially.
Diamond.
Because that's what it is. Because you see it and you're like, huh, look at all this shit around here. Oh, what I have to dig through my Life is Strange, my Tell Me Whys, and those awesome adventures of Captain Spirit.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's...
I guess the only other game that was not like Life is Strange would be like Remember Me.
Yep. That game where everyone bought it because there's a chick's ass on the cover. That's it.
Yeah, I played the game. It's okay, but it's nothing like... It's funny because the title's Remember Me, but there's not a lot that's really memorable about it. It's just like... It's like any other like kind of melee, brawler type of game. It's not... I guess the setting's kind of unique because it's a dystopian sci-fi setting, but... There's not really a lot of interesting things going on with the game. I mean, it's been a while since I played it, but I just don't really remember it being that special. It's just kind of...
It's published by Capcom, too, so...
It was.
I can just imagine, like, the game you see on the shelf, and it's like, Remember Me? And you just go, nope.
Yeah, I think Yahtzee made that joke where he reviewed it, and he was like, it's funny because I'm not going to remember this game.
What was I thinking of? I think... we all get the idea that, like, there's always going to be a bad indie game, and most of them are on mobile. They'll take the mobile indie games and put them onto consoles, and it's so terrible. And also...
like what, for example?
Life of Black Tiger.
Oh,
that was a mobile game.
Oh, that game was a fucking disaster.
Yeah, Life of Black Tiger was a fucking indie game. Not indie game. It was a mobile game.
That game was... Holy shit, that game it looks terrible and it plays like ass.
And it was one of the worst games on PS4.
Yeah. Also, the trailer literally plagiarized a song because the song in the trailer is actually taken from the Parasite anime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
That should tell you everything you need to know about the quality of the game.
Let's see. I'm actually looking up something. It's like the top 5 worst indie games. Shit. Don't Knock Twice. That's not good.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah. And there's also another one called, really? People didn't like this game? Apparently this website thought Torment Tides of Numenaria was bad. And it was a Kickstarter game, too. Oh, okay. It's like, okay, I got it. Whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I kind of want to go on and just move on and be like, even though there's shitty indie games out there's some good ones. There's like a lot of them. I've had to pick out 20. But I'm going to like say the honorable mentions that I have to mind. Like, a good indie game is something that will keep your attention, has a lot of things good with it, like story, combat, control, visual. Sometimes visuals don't have to be fucking AAA title visuals, but at the same time, they're cute to look at. Like, what
Yeah.
is it?
And it's not always so much about the visuals, but, just maybe it tells an interesting story or has, interesting ideas.
Yeah, like, what is it? Reigns is a great example, because it's essentially, it's another one of those games where choice kind of matters, because it's like, oh, hey, I want to build a church. No, don't build the church. Religious people hate you, but you save money. And apparently, if you don't do something, hey, the religious people rebelled against you, you die.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're screwed either way.
Yeah. And also, another one could be like games that copy off of other games, but they do it right, like Aviary Attorney.
Okay.
Which plays a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
And like, what other games? Even games like Faster Than Light, Cave Story, Game Dev Tycoon. Those games, they're fun. It's one of those games where you can keep playing for hours and just have fun with it. Most roguelikes are like that.
Well, there's also like stuff like PC Building Simulator, where like it'll help you actually like learn how to properly put together a PC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't understand why a lot of people are like, oh, indie games are terrible. Hey, this actually teaches you how to build PCs.
Yeah. There's also like certain other indie games that were just great, really successful. Like, the Honey Pop game was technically, that's an indie. And that kind of blew the fuck out.
Yeah, that was one. Binding of Isaac is also a good example of a indie game that blew up and still got more shit. And it has somebody who did like 1,000 parts of that fucking game.
I know there was like a remake or something, and there was like DLCs for it. But yeah, I haven't played that game in a long time. You like looking?
No, I'm looking up somebody who made a fucking. Okay, I mentioned Binding of Isaac. What's his name? Northern Lion.
No.
Holy fucking shit!
What?
You want to know how many episodes this motherfucker has of Binding of Isaac?
No, how many?
1,738.
Okay, so episodes are they like just different levels or like what is?
I'll explain to Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac is a roguelike game, so anytime you play it, it's different every time.
Oh, okay. So like procedurally generated, sort of? Or?
And he's playing this.
Okay.
All the videos are usually like 20 minutes, maybe longer. I'm just looking at this going, why would this guy continue? I've seen Let's Players who played Fallout and Skyrim, but at least they ended at somewhere in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's persistent. I'll give him that.
persistent, making that YouTube money. And what's another one? Like there are games that are good for their difficulty. Games that give you a challenge, like Super Meat Boy and Celeste. Granted, I don't like the whole message behind or how they kind of shoehorn the story into Celeste, and I don't think it's perfect, but it's a good challenge game.
Yeah.
And also a lot of games involve shoot 'em ups, like fucking what was I thinking of? Nuclear Throne. That's a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And they also give a lot of interesting games, like games that have good story, games that have interesting mechanics, like SteamWorld.
Yeah, like there's a lot of there's just a lot of interesting ideas and stuff that we don't usually see in like AAA games that we see in indies instead.
Yeah, and you see a lot of those indie games and you go, huh, there may be the diamond in the rough with this one.
Yeah.
So I think I should mention I mentioned the runner-ups, but now I kind of want to go into the 20 indie games that are actually good that I think that people should be invested in. Okay. This is in no particular order, but because I kind of cheated with this. So I put in like 3 things that have multiple games, like a company that either published or developed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do those first. Anything.
Well, I know one immediately that comes to mind is Devolver.
Yeah, Devolver. Anything from the Devolver Digital is great. Hotline Miami, Enter the Gungeon. Yeah. What was another one? Enter the Fall Guys that came out recently. The Messenger, Katana Zero, Ape Out, My Friend Pedro, Dropsy. Even though that game, even their weirdest games have some charm to it.
I remember seeing the trailer for Dropsy. That was a weird.
Yeah, and I own it. It's fucking bizarre. I never finished it though because holy shit, it is fucking creepy.
Don't you play? You play as like a clown or something?
You play as a clown that hugs everybody, and they're like, "No, you're scary. Go away, please." And you have to befriend them.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And also that.
And also, like I mentioned, when I mentioned Nuclear Throne, Enter the Gungeon is a good example of a roguelike game. Like, most of the games that are roguelike are great.
Yeah.
Like Enter the Gungeon, Downwell. Those 2 are what come to mind as great roguelike games. And what was another? I keep forgetting those other games that Devolver's made. Hotline Miami, even though they're not randomly generated, they're still fun to play, despite them being ultra-violent.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, Hotline Miami has also spawned a lot of imitators, too.
And funny enough, Ape Out was published by Devolver, and it played just like Hotline Miami, but you play as Harambe. Maybe not Harambe.
Yeah, I think Ruiner is another one, too. That was another Devolver game, and that was also
kind of
a little bit similar to, played similarly to Hotline Miami.
Meh.
I mean, a little bit.
It didn't make me. No, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like, I feel like Ruiner is kind of unfair in its difficulty, to be honest.
It's
like,
one of those games that gets an unfair rap, but is it enjoyable? It can be for the right person.
Yeah, I just feel like you should put the game on normal, and then you'll be fine. Just don't put it on hard, because I put it on hard, and that's incredibly.
Oh, you fucking played that game?
What? Ruiner? Yeah,
I didn't know you bought it.
Yeah, I played like maybe a little over an hour into it, and it was just like I put it on hard, and it was just way too fucking hard.
You just looked at it and go, I hate this game. You just deleted it.
I haven't gone back to it, and man, how long ago did I play that game? Maybe like about a year ago or so at this point, because I stopped playing it. I just haven't gone back to it.
Oh, I agree. Oh,
I mean, it's a good game. Like it's a good game. It has a good like art style. It has an interesting like setting and all that. But man, it's just like they just need to nerf the fucking difficulty, because it's like it's frustrating hard. Like it's not like Hotline Miami. Like it's beatable. Ruiner, it feels almost at some points like impossible. Like it's way too fucking hard.
Like you can't even fucking do anything with it.
Yeah.
So besides Devolver Digital, any game created by Supergiant Games is amazing. Like Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, and Hades. And Hades is coming out for Switch finally.
One other game I could mention too, or one other company I could also mention. Frictional Games is indie, I would say, because they were the guys behind Amnesia and the Penumbra games.
I'm trying to look. Now I'm going to look this up. I wonder if they're the same people that made Soma.
Yeah.
Okay. Because honestly, I debated this list. All these games on here, I debated, and I had Soma on here, but I immediately took it off.
I mean, it's an indie technically.
Like, it is.
They're not a big developer. I don't. As far as
I agree. I know that it was a good indie game, but I didn't remember much about it. So I just...
I remember a lot about it, actually. It's like, I remember the story, because it was so different from the other games they'd made. I mean, different in terms of story, I would say. Maybe not so much in terms of...
and also kind of the premise of it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much about it, so I ultimately took it off the list.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much have enjoyed, like, all the games they put out.
Yeah. We mentioned Papers.
Also, should say, really excited for the new Amnesia game. They teased like a few months ago. Huh. Yeah. Amnesia Reborn.
Shit. Hold on.
Or Rebirth or whatever.
Great. Because I think I saw that and I just skipped on it. Yeah, Amnesia Rebirth. It's also coming to PS4 as well. No. Yeah, but there's no news of it coming.
It's not going to be like a Machine for Pigs. A Machine for Pigs was done by the Chinese Room, which were the same company actually that I think did Dear Esther.
Wait, hold on. Let's see. I'm looking up the Chinese Room because I'm seeing. Yeah,
I did not really like Machine for Pigs.
Yeah, they did. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Dear Esther. Which I don't like that. That's why I took the
Machine for Pigs was fucking bad. I just didn't care for it. The enemies being these pig creatures, that it wasn't scary. It was stupid.
It didn't have a lot of
the story was dumb.
It took out the charm of why the first Amnesia was good. It was good.
The darkness doesn't do anything to you anymore either. Like I think the darkness might still do something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it does because I also know you don't have any you have a light source now that you don't have to worry about it going out. It's an electric lamp, so you don't have to worry about collecting tinder boxes and stuff. Stupid. So it doesn't put you on edge or anything whenever you walk around in the dark.
That's retarded. I hate that.
Yeah, the changes were stupid because it takes place in the steampunk era, so you don't have to worry about, your lamp oil and all that.
It's like, hang on, I gotta find a matchbox. Oh shit, can't find one. Oh, I'm fucked. All this one's like, oh hey, steampunk lighter. Okay, I'm good.
Or just like an electric lamp.
So fucking stupid. What was it? I also, you mentioned Papers, Please already, but also another game that he's made was Return of the Obra Dinn. That's another great game that it's like, you can choose how people die in the game. And it's great. It's like,
I want to play that game because I really like how the game looks. It's a really unique looking
And you
game.
mentioned the whole minimalist art style. That is what I liked about it. The minimalist art style... And that actually makes you feel like a detective, too. Which I think is great.
Yeah.
This
is another game I just really need to play.
Yeah, I would say invest in anything from Lucas Pope, Devolver Digital, and Supergiant Games. I would also say Ori, like the Ori series. Like Ori and the Blind Forest and the Will-o'-the-Wisps.
Yeah, I keep hearing good things about those games, too.
It's also funny, because... It was made by a studio that was their first game they've ever made, and it turned out to be a major success because of the visuals, the music, the storytelling, and the combat. Like, everything was great about it. Even the Will-o'-the-Wisps improved on it, and that's what I loved about it so much. And it's a good Metroidvania game, too, so I highly recommend it. And speaking of Metroidvania, Hollow Knight.
Oh, yeah, Hollow Knight's another one I hear good things
I highly recommend people to play Hollow Knight. Even though the sequel, no one knows when that's coming out, it's really cutesy in a way. For a dark game in some aspects, it's very cutesy looking. Especially when you play as the knight. Little fucking bug creatures. What other games?
What about? I don't know if you played this one. There's this game called Getting Over It, where you go over, you climb something. You're like some dude sitting in a pot. Or
Getting
something.
Over It with Bennett Foddy. No, I've seen that game. That's one of those games I kind of fucking hate.
Really?
Yes, because it's it tells you, hey, this game's challenging, but every time you fucking die, it makes you scream like Markiplier. Yeah, because the guy's
it's okay. Everyone fucks up every once in a while.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you
because
say?
You know how there's someone that's narrating to you, and they're like,
"Oh, I'm sorry, you fucked up."
A game.
Oh, did you say the Stanley
Parable? I didn't mention this before.
Yeah.
It's not one of my games that I highly would recommend for people, but it's one of those games that it has an interesting humor to it. that is someone's narrating to you. He's like, Stanley got up. Stanley walked around for a bit. And it's like, this is actually kind of funny. And it's one.
Aren't they making a sequel to that game?
I don't know if they made a sequel to that, but if it did,
I feel like I.
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up now. Shit.
I thought I heard about them like doing some kind of like a sequel or something. I'm not sure.
They made a console game of this. Oh, hang on. Oh, right. It's only for PC.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up like I know it's obviously not technically, I don't know if you'd say it's indie anymore, but at one point, you know, Minecraft was, I would say was considered like an indie game.
Yeah, until it turned mainstream.
Not now. Or I would say it's not now.
Yeah, like it became mainstream. I wouldn't call it an indie game anymore. I wouldn't even call it a AAA title. I would call it a mainstream game. A game that...
Yeah. A game that used to be, like, I guess you could say, like, when it was out. Like, but now it's like, you know, like when it was first out, maybe you could say it was. But now it's not.
Like, I remember that game was first out, like, barely anybody heard about it. Nowadays, you go to the fucking store and you see Minecraft Legos, Minecraft plushies, T-shirts, action figures, and also Minecraft dildos. I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So, Five Nights at Freddy's too.
Oh god.
Indie when it came out. Now it's like, I'll be honest, dude. I'm so fucking jealous of people like Notch. You know, like he's fucking millionaire at this point.
Yeah.
Dude behind FNAF, he's probably got fuckloads of money because of how many children play that fucking game, and how it's just kind of spawned this popular franchise, and he sells a bunch of merchandise from it and all this other shit. It's just like it's just one of those things that just for some reason it just took off, and I don't know, like it's. I guess, you know, because the concept is so well, I don't know, would you say interesting, or it's easy to like make, you know, your YouTube videos about, or your fucking streams, you know, just kind of doing LPs or whatever, you know, because it's just one of those games. It's like streamer bait, YouTuber bait.
Oh, fun fact about the guy that made Five Nights at Freddy's: he has made Christian-based animations. Yeah, called really? A Christmas Journey and The Pilgrim's Progress. I actually do know The Pilgrim's Progress. That was actually a board game I used to play when I was younger because my mom was so obsessed with Christianity.
You ever watch the Veggie Tales?
God damn it! I feel like my childhood is fucked. Yes, I do know what that shit is.
I've seen those like fucking Veggie Tales.
Now they're memes. It's so good. What if they made a Veggie Tales game? Would you play it?
A Veggie Tales game?
Yes, just me.
No.
Why not? You could stream it and go,
yo, what's up? My name's Kaos. I'm gonna play some Veggie Tales.
Probably play it to laugh at it. I mean, I probably wouldn't be enjoying myself.
Here's Larry the Dildo. He's walking around with Bob the Boob. I think.
Here's yeah. I barely remember those fucking that fucking show and the Veggie Tales.
Over.
Other than them just being the weird Christian. Animated
and
thing.
Then they made another one. The same creators that made Veggie Tales made one about fucking penguins. I have no idea what it was called, but I remember the fucking penguins. And they're creepy as fuck.
March of the Penguins? I was gonna say March of the Penguins.
The voice of God narrates it.
That would make it complete, wouldn't it? Just have Morgan Freeman come in. I mean, he is God.
Hold on. God damn it. You made me go down this fucking rabbit hole. Veggie Tales was a Christian computer generated children's animation. They made 2 films, Jonah and the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything.
The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything?
Yes, and it was made...
What kind of fucking pirates are they?
I don't fucking know! What else did these fucking have?
Now see, God doesn't want you to steal that gold and pillage that village. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that. They're good Christians.
God doesn't want you to rape and pillage the village.
God doesn't. God will only have you get scurvy if you do it.
The guy who created it was the voice of Bob the Tomato.
Oh, okay. I remember that character.
Okay, I found what the fuck this was. 3, 2, 1 penguins.
3, 2, 1 penguins.
Okay, it's. You want to know what the overview is of this show?
Penguins marching to find God.
Okay, once you
find out God is a penguin.
Once you hear this, you're going to figure out what the fuck is wrong with these people to come up with these things. That's okay. Twins Jason and Michelle are spending summer vacation with their British grandmom in the Panacos region of Pennsylvania. Grandma has a collection of kitschy ceramic figurines, the most prized of which is 4 penguins and a rocket ship, a honeymoon gift from her deceased husband.
Okay.
In the first video, or the first episode, the twins accidentally drop the ship, but instead of breaking, it flies into the air and reveals the 4 penguins are actually the crew of a real spaceship.
That's definitely not the concept I thought they would be going with.
Yeah, and you want to hear the fucking names of the fucking penguins?
What?
Zigil, Midgel, Vigil, and Kevin.
And
Kevin!
and
fucking Kevin!
Kevin, what the fuck are you doing here? You don't have names that sound like all our...
No. Oh, fuck. I actually do remember this. Fuck.
Kevin is the redheaded stepchild that nobody wanted.
No. I actually...
Kevin, why didn't we have you...
I remember this fucking series now. God damn. Kevin, he sounds like...
Is he played by Will
sounds
Wheaton?
like the special child.
Oh, he is played by Will Wheaton.
No. If he was voiced by Will Wheaton, I would laugh. But no, anytime he would come up, he would be like, Kevin. I'm Kevin. Like,
it's funny. It's even worse now that my jokes are even more mean-spirited, if that's the case.
I remember this. It's kind of like the fucked up version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with fucking penguins. Because you had the science one. You have in here. You have someone who's like the leader, and you have
God frowns upon science.
No. But here's the fucked up thing: the guy who's like he kind of thinks he's the leader of the group reminds me of Zach Brannigan from Futurama. Instead of having sex with people, he's like, "Oh hey, I'm the leader of this fucking group."
Have you read your Bible lately?
Brannigan.
Virginity is cool. What was that one fucking video with the...
You have to read the Bible. Keith, where's your Bible?
There's just one video I saw of this church and all these dudes I guess these celibacy advocates or something.
Here we go. Come on, ready? Virginity is cool. Come on. Virginity is cool. What up? Virginity is cool. He's got it. Virginity is cool. Come on. Virginity is cool. What up? Virginity is cool. Come on. Virginity is cool.
And they're like, virginity is cool or something. They're just chanting it. And I'm just like, man, that's so pathetic.
God damn. What the fuck? Okay, I think this can kind of make sense because this was independently made. Because I was going to go like, when the fuck did this turn into like talks of VeggieTales and penguins?
I don't know. I think we veered off somehow.
Way too, oh right, Five Nights at Freddy's. The guy made Christian shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, that was the reason why we started.
Fuck you, Freddy Fazbear. Fuck you.
That's kind of strange though, considering like he also made FNAF, and he made that before he made FNAF.
I know.
I would think he'd be like some kind of degenerate furry or something.
You know what? I'm actually going to look this up again. Hang on. One goddamn second. Going back to VeggieTales for this.
find pictures of him in a fursuit.
He's dressed up as Bob the Tomato.
I go to Comic-Con cosplaying as VeggieTales, as the VeggieTales character.
Big Idea Entertainment, and they have Bob and Larry as the fucking logo. Yeah, this was a bad idea, all right.
Go cosplaying as the cucumber.
Oh, and they made a character that was like a parody of Batman, where Larry the Cucumber was like a superhero.
I hear that Batman promotes witchcraft.
Yeah. Oh.
Should stay away.
Okay. Here we go. Here's the Larry Boy, the cartoon adventures. Reception mixed with Big Idea's bankruptcy at the time. The series was canceled after 4 videos.
Well, is this the FNAF guy?
No, I wish it was. It would be hilarious. You know what? I'm gonna look at the reception for the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. Let's see, reception. 41% of Rotten Tomatoes gave it a positive review. The site's consistency reads: the Veggie Tale should please the youngest crowds, but the silly script would tire the more discerning viewer. Okay, no one of interest is in this, so we're good.
I wouldn't really think.
And also, they did Jonah, which I don't get why they decided to make a fucking video about the Bible story of Jonah.
Because why not? It's in the Bible.
Critical. Oh, okay. This one actually had a better reception. 66% gave it a positive review. It reads: Jonah teaches wholesome messages to children in a funny, bouncing package.
And then have your children watch The Passion of the Christ.
VeggieTales presents Passion of the Christ.
Oh, Jesus. Can you imagine?
I don't want to. Wait, what? They're still continuing this? The VeggieTales show is still continuing.
How?
Blame TBN, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, which is a Christian-based broadcasting network.
It's probably one of those networks you gotta pay for to get, because I don't think we even get that.
God, what the fuck is this? You gotta show this. What the fuck is this?
Oh no.
Why does this look so terrible?
Is this real?
This is real, and this was on Netflix.
Oh
man.
I
wonder if it's still on Netflix. You know what?
I'm kind of curious now.
There's the other one. Hang on. I'm going to my Netflix account. Hang on.
So these are basically the Christian versions of the things that they're ripping off.
Okay, continue what? Oh, goddamn, I gotta go to mine.
Brought to you by Netflix.
Okay, I had to. Oh my sweet Jesus. Oh my God.
What?
This is disturbing. Why the fuck is Larry's mouth so big? Why is he wanting to fuck that taco?
Do I want to know?
I'm going to Why did I go down this rabbit hole? Hang on. I'm going to show you this. Hang on. I'm labeling this as a reason. Just take a look. This is on Netflix. I just typed it in just to see if I can find anything of value, and this pops up. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh God. I see it.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
Okay, well, not to veer off any further, but I feel like
I need to get away from this rabbit hole.
Well, it's probably going to be worse because were we going to actually talk about this in the podcast? The recent Netflix controversy.
Oh, you know what? You know what?
This is a perfect time more than anything. Remember? Okay. What the fuck is wrong with France?
I don't know. I haven't really watched a lot of things that came out of France, so I couldn't tell you.
Who the fuck would? Because for those that don't know, Netflix decided to say, hey, we hate pedophiles. Everyone agrees. Hey, says Netflix, there's a movie from France called Cuties. We're going to release it.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Yeah. They had a picture where scantily clad children are posing, and it's talking about how an 11-year-old girl joins a twerking club.
I don't know if I should even show this in the video when I edit it, because I feel like I'm going to be put on a list.
I would say, just to be safe, don't. Just put a big disclaimer saying, we do not approve this. If you want to learn about it, just look it up your fucking selves.
I mean, it says a lot that even 4chan doesn't want to show the image. But Netflix will. Yeah, so... Yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie about an 11-year-old girl exploring her sexuality and getting involved in a group of girls that twerk, and are also exploring their sexuality. And I don't think this is a movie that should be made, to be honest, because I think that concept in and of itself is just fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
Obviously, girls who are of that age should not be doing that.
No.
And they should not be doing it until they are like teenagers, at least not when they're children, because children are still have that childlike innocence and naivete about the world, and should not be shown that sort of thing at that age, because they don't know anything about it. I'll tell you, I remember being that age, and there's a lot I didn't know about sex, and a lot I didn't know about how sex worked, and a lot I didn't know about that kind of... And some people, because some people it's different. Some people, they won't know about that stuff until they're older. I knew about, shit like internet porn and all that other stuff when I was fucking young, and when I was that age, but I wasn't going around, joining a fucking male stripper magic Mike thing or whatever.
You weren't going to become a Chippendale at age 11.
Yeah.
You weren't going to fuck bitches at 11.
So I think this might be a tribute, Netflix's tribute to their buddy Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
They decided to make this movie, and I feel like everybody involved in this should be investigated.
Yeah, and
I feel like
it's
the people that actually put this promotional image as the Netflix poster image should also be investigated.
Yeah, we're not, because I've seen the original and that version. The original looks, it's not, it's better, but not by much.
Both of them are bad in mine. Yeah.
So, hey, Netflix, hey,
nice fucking model.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Nice fucking model, Netflix.
Yeah, I saw this and I just did not know what to make of it. I was like, what is going on?
What's going on? It's like, okay, so get rid of all the good shit that you had on Netflix and bring in people to shit on Avatar: The Last Airbender by saying that people hate Azula because she's a woman, and bring in Korra saying that that's better than Last Airbender. Yes, and
yeah,
this is why gatekeeping should be a thing.
I kind of have to agree, actually, because you get all these fucking weirdos that come in and just want to change everything for the worse.
They ruin everything. So. Fucking people that come in and ruin everything. This French director, I don't give a fuck who the fuck he or she is.
Oh, well, they're using the whole, she's a black woman shield to, but it's funny because she actually ended up, privating her, or deleting, I think, her Twitter account.
Here's the thing. Race and gender have nothing to do with it. It's a fucked up movie, and whoever defends this, go fuck yourself. That's all I gotta say. We do not condone this type of shit ever.
Yeah. I mean, there's no defending something like this, in my opinion. It's just it's like, oh, you need to watch the movie. I don't need to watch the movie.
Okay.
I already know what kind of movie it is, and I'm not going to watch it.
You know, it's fun. Okay.
I know this isn't one topic because I know we brought in Mega for, we brought him as a guest, and we mentioned Darkside Phil. He fucking thinks that this movie, there's nothing wrong with Cuties. He thinks there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, Darkside Phil and some other internet personalities have come and kind of exposed themselves and decided this is a hill they want to die on and defending this movie.
Phil's case is worse. He compares it to Django Unchained and Schindler's List.
Holy shit.
Here's why. He's saying that he doesn't get why people think that the movie is promoting pedophilia. He's like, not stupid. It's just like how Schindler's List would promote Holocaust and Django Unchained promotes slavery. No, motherfucker, that's not what it's promoting.
Does he know what promoting means? It's not promoting that. It's Django Unchained is very much like against slavery. Fucking Schindler's List, I would say, is showing the horrors of the Holocaust.
It's showing the horrors of the Holocaust, while Django Unchained, sure, has slavery in it, but it's a Tarantino movie. It's supposed to be fucked up in a way. And I have a theory why he defends Cuties. His first girlfriend was 16 and he was in his 20s, so he has nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I'm not going to outright say that Phil is, a fucking...
It's just a theory.
That kind of thing. But, I'm going to say it is a little bit weird that he is, going after women that are, very much younger than him, not just, in their early 20s or anything, but, teenagers.
Yeah. It's disturbing.
So... It's Onision level of creepy. Because, only difference between him and Onision, though, is that Onision has done it consistently throughout the years.
Like, I hate talking about Cuties because I've shown, not the trailer, but I've shown the description and the poster for it, and they're all disgusted by it.
Yeah. I mean, your first reaction really, if your first reaction from seeing that poster, at least the one that Netflix showed, is not disgust, and then I really have to question.
When I first saw it, I didn't see the trailer. I just heard about it, and I watched the trailer. Throughout that entire thing, I thought, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Who the fuck looked at or thought of this and said, you know what, this will make a great movie?
I mean, the people that argue for it are basically saying, it's, because it's them trying to break free of their super religious parents and them trying to, repress them and all that. I'm like, you could show that in a way that didn't involve them, exploring their own sexuality. And in this instance, it's like, I would actually have to argue for the parents, because that kind of shit, if they're going to stop them from doing this kind of shit, then it's like, I'd be like, they're in the right in that scenario. They're not necessarily wrong, because if they just let them do what they want, then a lot of bad shit could happen.
Yeah, a lot of shit could happen, and it makes me wonder why people think this. It still makes me.
You might end up on Epstein's Island,
and some people will assassinate you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm getting away from this topic because the more I talk about it, the more angry I get about it.
Yeah, I feel like people should be angry about it, though. It's like, I'm honestly, really debating canceling my subscription because of this bullshit, and I really feel like people should, question whether or not they want to keep their Netflix subscription when they do shit like this. Because it's like, if this is what they're using your subscription money for, then it's like, no. I don't care whatever you have coming out on Netflix. If this is the kind of shit that I'm going to be expecting from you from now on, it's like, I'll take my money.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to cancel it and go to Hulu.
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna go back to things that make me happy.
Yeah.
So we were talking about good indie games, right?
Yes, we were.
I think another great one. You know what? Since it talks about really disturbing issues, Valhalla is a good one.
I feel like I've heard
It's
of that.
essentially the game is it's spelled like VA-11 and then Hall-A.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
okay.
cyberpunk.
The bartender.
Yeah, cyberpunk
game,
bartending adventure. And it's really good. I highly recommend it because the music's great, characters are great, and just overall the feel for it is like amazing. And it does have the things like, hey, do you want to pay rent or do you want to buy shit and get a bad ending?
Yeah.
So
I have to play that game. I've been meaning to play
it's on, I believe, Steam, PS4, and Vita, and Switch.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually currently using the Fangamer coaster from Valhalla,
oh, you bought it?
which is pretty cool. It's a no, not the game itself, but it's like a coaster that you can put like your cans and stuff on.
Huh. I actually kind of want to get some of that now. Make some of the merch for it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's I think I have that, and it's might be like a glass I got from it. I forget what else I got from it. It's like I know I have like a coaster and maybe like a something else. I'm not sure.
oh yeah, I will say anything for Fangamer is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I want to look up their collections now and see what they have. And more, they have Loco Roco and Life is Strange shit and Last of Us 2. Why?
Oh, well, Fangamer has expanded their inventory a lot.
That is true. That is true. Oh yeah, I see it now. The gloss.
They've got some Persona stuff.
Oh yeah, and some of the Persona stuff is amazing.
Silent Hill,
Oh,
some other things.
hold on. I think what other collections do they have on here? Because
Hollow Knight. They've got a lot of stuff from indie games.
you know what? This is actually perfect because this actually gives me a segue into a good indie game, Stardew Valley.
Oh god, I think you've talked about that game on like every podcast.
Yes, because it's a fucking good game. And guess what? The fucking Fangamer, since we talked about that, has a book, so it tells you what to do. And it's a good game.
Yeah, it does.
I highly recommend it. It was my game of the year for 2016. And it's one of those games I still play to this very day. Also, because even they have another one up here.
Did we go over 10 of the best indie games?
That's what I was doing. I was going over all the 20 games that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, and little short reasons why.
Yeah.
And another thing they showed off on Fangamer's Night in the Woods.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
I know a lot of people are going to hate it because it's furry. A lot of people dress up as characters at conventions, but here's why it's a good game. It deals with depression and mental illness, and it does it in a good way. Plus,
It makes it even more depressing when you realize that the creator of that game ended up
dying.
committing suicide.
Yeah, because Zoe Quinn's a cunt.
And then, of course, Zoe Quinn was acting like it. Because apparently a lot of it also had to do with the toxic relationship.
Yeah. So, Night in the Woods is still a great game, and the guy didn't deserve to die over nothing. So, support Night in the Woods. This is a great game.
Zoe Quinn is a cunt.
Yep. And, speaking of games that kind of have furs in it, A Short Hike is a good one.
I don't think I've heard of
I
that.
didn't either until I recently looked it up. And it came out last year, and the game can last for like 2 hours long, but it's a fun little experience. You're just hiking up a mountain. And it was released on the Switch a few days ago. Because the Indie World thing was they announced it, and yeah, that was one of the things that came out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other games I could show on here. Cuphead, it's a great game. Good run and gun game. What more can I say about it that already hasn't been said? And it also came out on PS4, which is sad.
Only on PS4?
PC, Xbox, Switch, and PS4.
Oh, okay.
No, it said that it came out for PS4 because I was hoping they would say off the PS4. But no, apparently they wanted more money, so it makes sense. Shovel Knight's a good game. Yep, it's a good retro game. It actually, it's the same thing with Cuphead. It has a retro feel, so does Shovel Knight. And also Lisa, the Painful RPG.
That's another one I've heard of, but I haven't actually.
That's also another game that has a good sense of choice. Because it's like, hey, we captured your friend, so we'll make a deal with you. Your friend's life or your items. And sometimes it will matter, because if you have like a lot of good items, you kind of have to kill somebody off.
Jeez.
Speaking of choices, Disco Elysium.
That's definitely one I've heard a lot of good things
And
about.
it won a lot of awards at the Game Awards last year.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's a create your own adventure type of game, and it's good. I hope it comes out for consoles sometime soon.
Yeah.
Other ones like Dead Cells, that won an award for best action game, and I highly recommend that one. Roguelike, but still fun.
Another one I need to play.
Another one that has like a
What about Hyper Light Drifter?
that game
similar.
is good, but I never really finished it, so I kind of abstained from putting it on the list. Darkest Dungeon is great too. I put that on the list because I said Darkest Dungeon is actually pretty good. It's one of those games where you really have to be like cautious of what to do in that game.
Yeah, because isn't there like permadeath in that game? Oh, okay. Well, I could just to segue a little bit. There is one indie game, other indie game that I'm actually currently playing that I can talk about. Project Warlock. That's actually a really fun, like kind of a throwback retro shooter. And it's like a 2.5D game. It's really fucking fun. But speaking of permadeath too, I didn't realize this, but this game. So you have lives in the game, but I don't know how to keep track of them. But if you run out of lives, like if you die and you restart the whole thing over, you have to go through it all again, and that can be really frustrating. The game isn't too hard, but like if you die, a certain amount of times, then yeah, you got to go through the whole game again. That can really discourage you, because like I remember I was pretty close to the end of the game, got killed. I didn't know about that, and then I saw that I could not just continue. I had to start a new game, and I was like, fuck this, and I stopped playing the game for a while.
You're like, fuck everything, I'm out.
Yeah, but I started playing again. It's a really fun game. It's just that you got to watch out for that. Just be aware of that when you play the game.
Makes sense. What else was I thinking of? Another good game that is, I think a lot of people kind of won't like because it deals with cards, but Slay the Spire is great.
I've heard of it.
It's a good game. Like, it has a lot of things you can do to it, and it actually keeps it very interesting. Each playthrough is different. And also, Mark of the Ninja is also good.
That's another game I've heard of that I kind of wanted to play, but I never got around to it.
It's better than Dishonored, just to let you know.
Is it similar to Dishonored?
You can be stealthy or action-based, but it's up to you. What's another great game? Owlboy. Owlboy is one of those games that I kind of missed out on, and once I played it, I regret missing out on it. Because the people that made it, it took them 10 years to make the game. And it shows how much love and determination they had in this game. And let's see. Other good games that people might be interested in. Salt and Sanctuary. If you like Dark Souls, it's actually a fun game.
Yeah, that's another game I'm going to check out. It's another like Souls-like game, but it seems pretty fun.
Yeah. And the last one that I have, which I'm still trying to finish, is Bug Fables, which it plays a lot like Paper Mario, but the good ones. it plays like the good Paper Mario game. So if you like a game that plays just like the original Paper Mario, then I highly recommend that one. Yep. So yeah, those are all the games I kind of pick for it.
And I take it we can move on to independent films.
Because we were talking about shitty things.
Well, there was like a lot of indie movies that or like a lot of movies I didn't really know were like considered indie.
Huh.
Yeah. There were some that like I actually had to look some up because I didn't know if they would be considered indie or not. But then there were some other movies I could think of off the top of my head that I've seen.
Anything by Neil Breen is a good example.
Yeah, you could say that's it's indie.
Good or bad?
I mostly like, for my list, I just picked good stuff. Okay,
but I think we should like list off some bad indie films, like people that.
Yeah, I don't have any bad ones on here, but I guess we can like think of something.
I know anything by Neil Breen is might considered to be bad.
Yeah, well, like so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Neil Breen, Tommy Wiseau.
The first Birdemic. Anything after that was other shit.
Yeah. Yeah, like stuff from those directors. Some other bad ones. I'm not sure actually. It's hard to think of bad ones. Like that. I mean, there's a lot of good ones I've seen. So I mean, I know there's some pretty bad ones too, though.
I'm trying to think of bad indie films.
Well, how about I just list off the good ones at least? Because I do have a list of 20. I got 20
okay,
good, decent indie films. Okay, so first one I have.
I think you mentioned one of them already. You said that The Lighthouse was considered to be a good film.
Yeah, The Lighthouse. That's one of the ones on the list. Lighthouse. I've talked about it before. It's a pretty good. It's a pretty good independent movie. It's like shot in black and white, and it's shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Because I've seen parts of that movie, and I can tell that it's actually a good movie.
It's a really good movie. Yeah, like Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are like the only two people in the movie for the most part, and it's kind of just like focused on their isolation in the lighthouse, and them just kind of slowly going insane and losing trust, their sanity, and just losing trust with each other. And it's some people have kind of compared it to The Shining in that sense, and I guess you could kind of say that it's because it's just the both of them slowly going insane.
Yeah, I can see that. And then one of them like seeing things, and the other guy's like, "Don't do it."
Yeah, there's some horror aspects to it. Like I would say it's kind of a horror movie, but it's got like a few different genres mixed in. Like it has horror aspects to it, and that like Robert Pattinson seeing just weird stuff like mermaids and severed heads and stuff like that. But it's I guess you'd say it's technically a horror.
It has some horror aspects.
Yeah, but that's what I like about indies, though, is that they can kind of they sort of have interesting ways of blending different genres together, and I feel like The Lighthouse kind of does that to some extent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because some people say it's kind of like a black comedy too, which I can kind of see that.
That's like
does have somewhat aspects like that in there. But okay, so. Another thing I have on here is actually from, I think it's the same director. The Witch.
Same director, Robert Eggers.
Yeah, The Witch is actually more of a straight-up horror movie, but it's a slow burn horror movie. I've seen it. It's pretty decent. Like it's, if you like slow burn horror movies, you'll like it. If you don't like slow burn horror movies, you'll probably hate it because it takes a while to get to get to where it's going. But it's one of those movies where you kind of have to pay attention to some of the like little details, and realize the significance of them. But it's pretty good. Like it's good acting, even though it's
Indeed.
Not really well-known actors or anything. Interesting concepts. Like a lot of them are, considering the time period it takes place in. A lot of it is inspired by Christianity and stuff, and because it's the pilgrims and their superstitions of the witches and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of plays off of that.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so some other ones. Hereditary. I've talked about this briefly before. It's the same director of Midsommar, which is Ari Aster. Midsommar is also another indie movie.
That's considered to be indie. That's considered to be... Hereditary is considered to be an indie film?
Yeah, it's not... Yeah, as far as I know.
Weird.
Why, you didn't?
No, I actually didn't.
It's not a big budget blockbuster movie, because I remember when it first came out, it was only like playing in select theaters.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Anything that has like a select theaters, even though it had a $10 million budget.
Yeah, I mean it did have a pretty good budget, but yeah, it's Hereditary is another. I would say it's a slow burn horror movie too, but it's I would say like it's definitely a slow burn. But it has a really crazy climax. It definitely pays off in the end because there is just a lot of just insane stuff that happens in the climax of the movie, and it's definitely worth sitting through just to get to that point. So it's a pretty good movie. I would definitely highly recommend it. I was so impressed with it that I decided to check out Midsommar, which I was not as impressed by. It wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't as good as Hereditary in my opinion.
But is it one of those movies that you would recommend to people?
Yeah. Midsommar. It's a love it or hate it movie in my opinion. Like it's and like I said, usually with the love it or hate it movies, I find myself in the middle. So I would say it's I would say give it a chance. Like I would say watch it. And if you don't like it the first time, you probably won't like it upon second viewing. But then again, it's also one of those movies where it's like you kind of need to watch it couple times in order to pick up on certain things. So I don't know. But it's also like if you didn't like it the first time, I wouldn't recommend watching it the second time, just because it's like this is another thing about the movie. It's so fucking long, because like the theatrical cut is 2.5 hours. The director's cut's even longer. It's almost 3 hours. So it's like if you watch the movie, you have to basically at least be able to tolerate a lot of stuff and be able to look past certain things in order to get through it if you didn't like the movie. And that's kind of a tall order for some people. So Hereditary is more, what's the word I would use, like digestible, I guess, just because it's not as long and more stuff happens in the movie. So it's like it's an easier movie to get through. Midsommar is just a lot harder to sit through.
It's more appealing to people than the other one.
Yeah. And like Midsommar is just, you want to talk about a slow burn. Like I said, Hereditary is a slow burn. Midsommar is even more of one, and especially it might feel unsatisfying to some people because not as much really happens in the climax of the film.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. Okay. What else do we got here? Okay. So some of these movies I will say I haven't seen, but I just put them on here because they're technically indie films, but they're movies I've been interested in seeing. But one of them I have seen is this movie called... I figured this probably is indie. It's called Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Beyond the Black Rainbow?
Yeah. It's kind of like a throwback film to like 70s like horror movies. The plot is very hard to describe. Like it's a lot of the movie feels like a weird like acid trip almost. So can't really describe the plot too well, but it's an interesting movie. I would recommend it if you like, weird 70s horror movies, because it kind of tries to emulate that style.
He was the guy who was in it was also in Hellraiser. Detective
really?
Gibbons in Hellraiser Hellseeker.
Oh god. That was not a good movie. Okay, so yeah, I can't really like. I really have to rewatch that movie or Beyond the Black Rainbow sometimes, because I don't remember too much about the plot. I remember more the like weird shit in the movie. So take what you will from that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Next up, we have Mandy, which I would say is kind of I would say it's an indie movie. It's the Nick Cage. Nick Cage is in it.
Was it the 2018 movie?
Yeah. It's basically about this biker gang or this Christian cult killing Nick Cage's girlfriend. So he goes to take revenge on the Christian cult and the literally demon biker gang. It's a completely ridiculous premise, but they just completely run with it, and it's amazing. Like, the visuals, I think what you really take away from the movie is just the weird visuals of it and the like random animated segments it has. I don't know why they do that, but it's interesting that they did that. But it's
apparently people liked Nicolas Cage in it.
Yeah, and Nick Cage is just, they basically just told Nick Cage to just go crazy.
So kind of like what he did in most of his films, like Face Off and shit like that, or
yeah, and he has a fucking scythe and he has a fucking bow and arrow and a chainsaw. There's a chainsaw fight in the movie. It's basically like, imagine Nick Cage as the Punisher, and you've pretty much got how he is in the movie.
It's like one of those roles that you don't expect him to do.
Yeah, I would actually say this is one of the roles that really kind of helped bring Nick Cage's career back to an extent, like bring him back in the spotlight, sort of. Because I've noticed after that movie he was in like a more like well-known things like Into the Spider-Verse and
that one.
He was in this movie called Color Out of Space, which I should have put on here as like another indie movie because technically I guess it was. But it wasn't too well known. But like the people that watched it really enjoyed the movie. I guess I'll just put it on here anyway because it's not. I didn't put it on the list, but I'll just go ahead and say Color Out of Space. I would say technically that was an indie movie. It's an adaptation of an old Lovecraft story, but basically like put it into the modern day. Nick Cage plays like the asshole father. A meteor comes down and basically like starts to change everything around it, and everything around it becomes more alien. So it's sort of like a sci-fi horror movie. It's pretty good though. Like I highly recommend it, especially if you want a good Lovecraft adaptation, because we don't get a lot of those. Yeah, almost never do we get a good Lovecraft adaptation. Okay, so speaking of Lovecraft adaptations, another thing that's on this list, The Void. It is not really a Lovecraft adaptation per se, but it's heavily inspired by Lovecraft. And it's also heavily inspired by movies like The Thing, because it has a lot of these crazy practical creature effects. And plot isn't anything too, like, complicated. Basically, like, it's a cult that are trying to I'm not exactly sure if I remember what they're trying to do. I just remember there's a weird cult and there are alien like cosmic monsters in it, and they're represented with crazy practical effects. So that's the main reason you want to watch the movie. It has really good practical effects.
Yes.
So if you want a movie that's similar to The Thing, there you go.
And it's also for the executive producer of The Witch.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny enough.
I forgot about that.
So that's interesting.
You know what? Now I'm thinking of more movies I didn't put on here. A Cure for Wellness is another good like independent. I would say it's an independent movie. Yeah, like it's a lesser known horror movie, but it's pretty good. It has that guy. I think he was from Amazing Spider-Man. Like I think it was like Harry. I'm not sure if it was him or not. It was,
for Amazing Spider-Man 2 or something.
Yeah.
Hang on. I gotta look this up now.
It was a good movie. It's basically like, imagine Shutter Island, but without the plot twist of it being like all in his head. There's a remote place in Germany, I think, where there's weird stuff going on, and this guy is sent to basically, like, I guess, like because this one guy, I think from his company or something, went missing, and he's at this place, and he's basically just sent to get him back. But like he discovers all this like weird shit happening there.
Yeah.
So
hey,
pretty simple premise, but it kind of builds upon it as the movie goes on. It's pretty good.
Like all these movies you're mentioning, I kind of want to watch them now.
Yeah, Cure for Wellness is good. Like I would recommend it. It's actually a little bit lengthy from what I remember, but it's a good movie. Fuck, what else? Autopsy of Jane Doe. I forgot this was independent. Autopsy of Jane Doe is another indie horror movie. It's another simple premise. A mortician and his son are like locked up in a morgue with this body, and it's a body of an unidentified woman, hence the name Jane Doe. But as they continue to perform the autopsy on this woman, they start to discover interesting things about her that should not, like, interesting things about her body that should not be there. And as the movie progresses, there are more and more things that they discover about her that just start to lead them to certain conclusions about who she might be. And as this is happening too, there's weird shit happening around them, like, typical haunted house stuff. The lights are flickering, and there are some of the dead bodies in the morgue might get up, and pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. It's like I said, simple premise, but the scares are fairly effective, and the concept, while not necessarily being all that original, is or at least the identity, I would say, of Jane Doe not being the most original thing in horror movies. It's the way it was executed was pretty good. So I think it was a pretty good movie. It's actually on Netflix, so if you got a Netflix subscription, which we just kind of shat on Netflix, but yeah, you can watch it there. You can also watch The Void there too, which is another one I recommend.
I kind of want to watch all of these movies if they're on Netflix.
Yeah, another one on Netflix is Nightcrawler. It's as it might sound, it's not actually.
Wait, isn't that what Jake Gyllenhaal? I've seen that movie. That's actually a good movie where he put.
That's the one where like he's like this independent like reporter or something, and he's trying to get all these crazy stories and stuff, and he's going around LA. And
I remember it where he's trying to he's a freelance not journalist, but he's a photographer. What would you call that? Like recorder? I don't know what you think of.
Yeah, I guess you'd say like
crime, and then he ends up going.
No. He sells his stuff to news, the local news company.
Yeah, and he ends up going too far and actually goes inside the crime scene and films it. I remember that movie.
Yeah, I watched the movie out of curiosity, and it wasn't really what I was expecting, but I came away pleasantly surprised by it because I actually ended up liking it a lot. So.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought it was going to be like the Nightcrawler from Marvel, but it's nope.
Yeah. Okay, so another movie I have seen is called Creep. I actually reviewed this on my old channel, but Creep it's on Netflix too. It's basically about this guy who I'm trying to remember the premise. He responds to some online thing where somebody he's asking for something. I forget exactly, but he goes to
a 2014 movie. Oh, yeah. He has to go to meet with his client in a cabin.
Yeah, it's and the guy ends up he's like, oh, I want a friend, and he tries to be this guy's friend, and he realizes this guy is there's some things wrong with him. He might be crazy. He's trying to get out of the situation, but the guy is basically doing everything he can to prevent him from leaving. It's a found footage movie, but I would say it uses that effectively because it's not a premise that's too crazy or anything like that. It's just it's fairly down to earth, and it's not it doesn't get too crazy. It's just it's a situation I feel like anybody could kind of find themselves in. The only thing that I think I would criticize about the movie is just the guy not really getting the police involved really, and just kind of trying to deal with the situation himself. That kind of seemed sort of dumb to me, because of the whole movie he's just kind of trying to find his own way out of the situation instead of just getting some kind of fucking restraining order. Well, I think he actually never mind. I think he might actually have tried to do that at one point in the movie, but for some reason they're not willing to help him out or whatever, because at some point after he leaves, the guy starts stalking him and stuff, and you can only imagine how that ends up.
Didn't they make a sequel? Because I saw they made a sequel.
They did make a sequel.
And was it good?
I didn't like it quite as much, to be honest. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't as good as the first one.
But would you recommend it in a way?
I would. I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's kind of disturbing, I guess.
Yeah, in a way. I can understand that one.
Yeah. Apparently It Follows is also an indie movie. I didn't realize that. It Follows is a good one. It's kind of it's another throwback movie to like the 80s, like kind of like 80s slasher movies, but instead the gimmick with It Follows is it's various different people who are like stalking the characters in the movie because okay, so the characters in the movie get stalked by different people, and in order for the characters to get the thing to stop following them, they pass on what they have to pass it like an STD, like sexually, onto the other person. Yeah, like, because if you have sex, you can pass on the however it works. Like, if the thing is following that person, that if they have sex with the other person, they can pass it on so that they're following that person now. So that now they're not following the person they were following before.
It just sounds a bit, fuck.
It's weird, yeah, but like it's a fairly unique, I would say, in that regard. Like, I can't really say I've seen anything else that's kind of like that really is kind of like that. I guess maybe like I would say it's kind of like how, because I mean there is that like trope in like slasher movies where it's like the virgin always tends to survive, so maybe they're kind of commenting on that whole thing where it's like, you know, you have sex, you're dead.
Great. So it's like, yeah, the whole trope where it's like, hey, all these people on Camp Crystal Lake are fucking, oh yeah, they're dead now.
Okay, so I might just go over like a few more because I don't want to go over the whole thing. I just go over some and I won't really talk about some of these. Some of these I haven't seen. I won't talk about the ones I haven't seen. Drive, haven't seen it. Been meaning to watch it. I have seen The Invitation, which is another one that was listed on here. I was kind of disappointed with The Invitation. It's like kind of a horror movie, but it's not scary. It apparently like deals with something that apparently is actually a thing. It's like these California suicide cults or something, or whatever they are. I don't know, because that ends up being like the thing in the movie is that they're the whole thing where it's like you find out they're a cult and they're like, I guess their ultimate goal is just to kill each other or something. I'm not sure.
Of course that's their goal.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't that. I didn't like it that much, to be honest. It was average movie, average to mediocre.
But it could have been better in some regards.
Oh yeah, it was not scary. It was just nah. Didn't like, you know, and it's a long movie too. It does not need to be as long as it is, because the movie drags. Like, it's long and it drags. Like, I hate when movies do that.
I'm looking up The Invitation. Apparently, they wanted Luke Wilson, Zachary Quinto, Topher Grace, and Johnny Galecki to be in it, but they chose against it.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of the people that I saw in the movie, like, I didn't recognize them.
Yeah, because it's like people. I don't even know most of these people.
Yeah, that's funny that they wanted those big actors and they didn't sign on.
Yeah,
for it.
Probably they looked at it and go like, "This is stupid," and just left.
Okay, so It Comes at Night, another horror movie I haven't seen, an independent horror movie. I've been meaning to watch it.
It Comes at Night.
Yeah,
sounds like a porno to me.
I know about the twist. I'll just tell people the twist because it is stupid. Because I mean, people could end up wasting their time watching this movie. I'll just tell you the twist.
It was the sled.
Nothing comes at night. Their parents, basically the whole like, their paranoia gets the better of them, and they, you know, think something's after them when it isn't. You know, something like that. It's and the whole twist is, you know, there's nothing. It's just people freaking out and commenting on people's paranoia, shit like that. I think. at least as far as what I've been told. I could be wrong about that. I mean, I'm willing to accept that I might be wrong, and I might have misheard people saying that was the twist, but apparently it is. And I might still watch the movie, but knowing that's the twist, I'll be honest, kind of turns me off a bit, because I would kind of be a little bit annoyed if I found out that was the twist at the end of the movie. I'd be like, really?
Also, It Comes at Night. It has fucking Owen Lars from fucking Star Wars.
Who did he play in Star Wars?
Owen Lars, the uncle from.
Oh, Uncle Owen.
Uncle Owen, the young one.
I didn't know that guy was still alive.
But he played the young version, the young one.
Oh, in the prequels. Okay. Another one I've been interested in seeing but haven't seen is David Lynch's Eraserhead. It just seems like a really fucking weird movie. Never watched it, but I've been interested in seeing it.
Oh yeah, it is, because it says David Lynch. It looks like a weird movie.
Yeah, David Lynch's stuff is always pretty fucking weird. Okay, so stuff I have seen. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is apparently, like, it's the first one. It's considered an independent. Yeah. Not much to say about it. Everybody knows what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is. I don't need to describe the plot. It's a pretty good movie for what it is. I mean, it's a movie that shows its age, I would say. Like, it's if you watch it now, you're like, wow, it's not all that great. But, like, originally when it first came out, it's one of those movies that's, I would say, kind of a product of its time. Like, when people saw it in that time, it's kind of shocking because you don't see a lot of movies like that. Kind of like The Exorcist. Yeah. Like, a lot of people were shocked by it because it was so different.
Well, I was going to say, because apparently the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the house is real.
Yeah, it's a real place.
Yeah, which...
and technically it was based on true events, although I don't know how accurate the movie is.
It's the same thing with Friday the 13th. What was it? The story that happened with a kid drowning at Camp Crystal Lake, that happened, but the whole thing about him coming back to life and killing camp counselors, having sex, was completely fabricated.
Yeah. Okay, another movie I haven't seen, been meaning to watch. No Country for Old Men. I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, that's actually one of the movies I heard was really good, but I never saw it either.
Blair Witch Project.
The original?
The original. Good movie. Really good movie. Really creepy movie. Even creepier when it first came out. It's another movie that's kind of a product of its time, too, because it was one of the first of its kind. And when it first came out, it freaked everybody the fuck out because they didn't know if it was real.
What about Book of Shadows? Blair Witch 2?
Yeah, that movie went through production hell.
That movie sucked.
Blame the studio.
Like, I can tell you what happens in the sequel. Yeah, because the sequel, it's like the police bring them in, and it's like, oh yeah, all these people that died, they're like, yeah, we were just in the camp the whole time, and you see them, they actually are committing these crimes.
Yeah, it was a weird movie.
It is very.
What else? Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko is one of those movies that I know of it, never seen it.
You haven't seen Donnie Darko?
Fuck you, and I know that has a shitty sequel.
It does, but the first movie is fucking great. Like, it's... I don't know if I'd say if it's one of my favorite movies, but it's a really good movie.
It's a movie that you would recommend to people.
I would say, like, if you watch it, watch the theatrical version and then watch the director's cut.
Makes
because
sense.
The theatrical version, like, it leaves things out, and the director's cut, like, answers a lot of the questions that the theatrical version presents, but doesn't really answer.
Makes
sense. It's a pretty complicated movie, too, because it's one of those movies you really got to pay attention to, because it has to do with, like, time travel and stuff. So, yeah, just... It's one of those movies I would say that needs repeat viewings, kind of, to totally understand it.
Because I'm trying to think of, like, isn't American History X considered to be an indie film?
Maybe.
Because that was
apparently American Beauty is too, which I did not know that was an indie film, because I looked up, like, indie films, and I was thinking, like, are you sure that's an indie film?
Wait, the Kevin Spacey movie?
Yeah.
Where he fantasizes about fucking a teenager? Oof.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That was another kind of
controversial one.
Movie.
Yeah, that movie was very controversial. I remember.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've gone over most of these. Okay. Okay. So the last one I'll mention that I have seen, and I was like, oh yeah, this is an indie movie.
Oh right.
Cool Cat saves the kids.
Fuck off. A movie. It's a movie called The Velocipaster.
Wait, what?
It's called The Velocipaster.
How the fuck do you spell? Oh, I see it. Here you go. The Velocipaster. What?
It's an amazing movie. I remember I saw it was on Amazon Prime. I was like, what is this? And me and my friend watched it, and we were just like laughing the whole time. It's one of those movies where it's like, it knows exactly what it is. It's not. It's like, it seems like it's a so bad it's good movie, right? But it's intentional. Like they knew they did it on purpose. They're just like, let's make the most fucking ridiculous movie, and they just didn't care. It just seems like it's a Tim and Eric or an Eric Andre skit or something like that. Like,
I'm reading the synopsis of this.
Yeah, go ahead and just tell people.
Okay, after losing his parents, Pastor Doug Jones travels to China and becomes infected by an artifact, resulting him to turning into a velociraptor when he becomes angry. At first horrified with this new power, under a new direction of the prostitute, he decides to fight crime and kill criminals, including drug-dealing ninjas, using his transformation. During his mission, he travels around the world. What is this?
He also wears that like T-Rex suit, I think, at some points in the movie that you see people wearing those videos.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna see where I can find this, where I can watch this movie at.
You can watch it on a Prime. You need a Prime subscription.
I wish I had and Vudu.
Or you could do that too, or you could just get it through other means. But yeah, so I recommend. I figured I'd end off with that movie because I'm. I figured I'd end off with that movie because I'm like, people should watch that. That would be like I would say that's like my top recommended one.
The best one, Velocipaster.
Yeah, better than these critically acclaimed movies.
Why is this?
Best director, whoever directed that movie.
We will also mention, for the record, there are some indie films out there that are actually pretty decent that aren't on this list.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to include artsy films either.
You're not going to include
artsy films like Lars von Trier, like Nymphomaniac, Antichrist.
Yeah, but I mean, those would fit the category.
Yeah, but out of all those movies, Antichrist would probably be the one to pick.
Yeah, that's the movie I've been needing to see too.
Like, what would also be considered like more cult movies? I'm trying to think of, or not cult movies, indie movies. Like Cool Cat Saves Kids.
I mean, technically, yeah. That was an indie movie.
Like VeggieTales. That's indie. But goddamn.
Yeah.
There he is. It's Bob the Tomato.
Bob the Tomato. You know, I'm gonna go. This I'll win. I'm gonna dress up as Bob the Tomato. I need to share my love for VeggieTales.
No, you go as Larry the fucking cucumber. You go up to a lady and be like, "Yo, girl."
It's like, bitch, I'm a dildo. Dildo.
Man, you couldn't even ride me. I'm Larry the cucumber. Bitch. And then you fucking like tell stories about Supernatural.
Oh Jesus, no.
No, don't do that. Oh Jesus, we talked a lot of things in this rabbit hole of podcast.
Yes, we went down a couple different rabbit holes.
Yeah, but we had to. It was all justified. It was all justified. It made this whole thing interesting.
Yeah, I think our tangents make the podcast a little more interesting.
Good. just good. What you need to do when you see a girl, you do this. You just get.
Oh God.
You just do that. Yeah, you girl sprays off with hairspray.
Oh. Okay, we didn't go through bad examples of indie films, did we?
No.
Because I listed the good ones.
I think we only we talked about good ones. I think the only ones that we talked about that were considered to be bad were like Birdemic 2.
Yeah. I made a list of good ones, but not bad ones.
Well, I didn't make it a list of bad indie games either, because you can always think of the better ones.
Fair, yeah.
Like, what can you think of examples for it?
Bad ones? That's hard, actually. I can think of, like some of those, like, pretentious ones, where it's just, like...
oh, yeah.
I feel like anything by what's that guy's name? Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, wait,
like
really?
Requiem for a Dream.
Memento.
No, that was Christopher Nolan.
Right, I forgot.
Yeah, I don't know. People might get on me for saying that. Like, I remember seeing Requiem for a Dream, and I was just like, yeah. It's that Jared Leto movie.
I'm gonna look at all that he made. He made
Mother with Jennifer Lawrence.
That movie, oh my fucking, that movie was shit. That movie sucked.
Yeah, I think he also did Black Swan too. I think that was another one. I haven't.
That
seen
movie was okay.
I guess you could say it'd be fair and say Darren Aronofsky can be a little bit hit or miss with his movies.
Apparently, someone tried telling me about Black Swan, and they said the only best way to describe it was, and I quote,
"Yeah, so Mila Kunis eats out Natalie Portman in the movie."
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Didn't make the movie any better, but okay.
I guess unless you actually want to see that.
He also did The Wrestler.
Oh, I didn't
which
know
had
that.
Mickey Rourke, Marissa Tomei. Apparently it renewed his interest, Mickey Rourke's interest in his career, and people loved it.
I haven't really seen Mickey Rourke in a lot of things.
You know what?
At least not recently, so I mean, I guess that's
Let's see
good.
what all he's been in. He's been in. Ooh, there's a whole different category for him.
Yeah, let's not jump into that.
Sin.
There's probably like a lot we could.
I was going to say Sin City was one of them.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess
The Expendables. Only the first one.
How many of those movies have they made? Like 3?
Yeah, 3 of them. Oh shit! Mickey Rourke was also in Rogue Warrior.
Yeah, he was. He was the voice of
Mariko.
Yeah.
He was also in Driver 3 in True Crime New York City. But that's it. That's all I could think of for Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
You were saying also bad movies or indie films. Lars.
Yeah, anything that's like really overly pretentious and just doesn't really like say much with it. Like
Nymphomaniac comes to mind.
Yeah, that was another movie.
Von Trier.
Lars von Trier.
Yeah, like Antichrist was great, but Nymphomaniac takes a scene directly from Antichrist. Yeah. Which
For those with a faint sense of heart, a baby falls out the window and dies in Antichrist.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and they tried doing that same scene in fucking Nymphomaniac, but they stopped that from happening.
And also in Nymphomaniac, there's a scene where it's like the aspect ratio is fucked. Like there's one where it's like 16:9, then it goes to by 4:3, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
That's probably him just trying to do like artsy, yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that as long as there's a reason for it, but sometimes it just seems like they just do it just to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's great, but like, why is it happening?
And also, the guy cannot write child roles very well. Yeah,
Really?
he doesn't. Like, he makes them awkward as shit.
Yeah, there's not really a lot that come to mind when it comes to like really bad indie movies.
I would say,
probably just because I haven't seen a lot.
I would
of
say
them.
anything that's considered to be, like you said, pretentious. Same thing with artsy.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, like I was mentioning David Lynch before, like, he's an example of, I believe at least, how to do, like, those kind of movies right, because they usually have, like, a meaning to them, but you really have to, like, understand, like, you know, and it requires kind of, like, repeat viewings to understand, like, what he's trying to say.
I know another example of a bad indie film, but I don't know if it's considered to be indie film. Anything by Ed Wood.
Oh, God.
Which...
Well, he is one of the worst directors, apparently, in Hollywood.
Or anything by Uwe Boll as well.
Yes, Andy, but it's not really, like, pretentious. It's more, like, just bad.
I would say it's more pretentious because it's Uwe Boll saying, hey, look at me, I'm making films about video games. Fuck you, I can get away with it by a German tax loophole.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at my tax loopholes. Oh, you don't like my movie? I'm going to challenge you to a boxing match.
That guy's kind of a douchebag.
Oh, you don't like what I say? Come talk to me on my podcast. Nah, ducks out.
Did he did that Alone in the Dark adaptation?
Alone
right?
in the
like
Dark, Blood Rain, Postal. What else?
Apparently, Postal was the only, like, one of the few good ones he did.
It was,
Better than a lot of his other stuff, which was just outright terrible.
He owns a diner.
The Postal guy?
No, Uwe Boll apparently had restaurants.
Oh Jesus! I'm gonna get Gordon Ramsay to come there.
Oh no! Here we go. He opened up the Bauhaus restaurant in Vancouver after noting a lack of German cuisine in there. And apparently, his restaurant has received positive reviews.
Well, I mean, at least he's found one thing he's good at.
Yeah, so if you suck at films, become a cook or own a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, you might have some other calling in life you just didn't know about.
Boll had remarked about his newfound success in owning a restaurant. End quote. It's interesting, right? I had to open up a restaurant to get good reviews. Well, at least he's self-aware. I might do it.
Oh shit! Okay, so I guess we could transition to top indie films you should watch.
I think that's what you did.
Oh, when I was talking about the good indie films.
Your picks.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And some of those were some of my favorite ones as far as what I've seen. Oh wait, I completely forgot. I missed one. Night of the Living Dead, the original.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a movie you should watch. I had not seen it until recently, and you'd be surprised. Like, for the '60s, it's a really fucking, like, it's a dark movie. Like, it's just you just don't expect it to be as graphic as it is. But it's just that he does not hold back with that movie,
which is good.
Yeah.
What was another one? We mentioned the so bad it's good movies like The Room, Birdemic, even Cool Cat Saves the Kids. Like, those are bad it's good in a way. I know another bad indie game that it's so bad it's not even good at all. Hunt Down the Freeman. Hunt Down the Refund.
God, that fucking travesty.
And also Hatred. Those two games are examples of doing it for either shock value or tension. Fuck those games.
Jeez.
I'm trying to think of like good indie films that I probably have watched. I'm trying to look at good indie films. See,
Good indie films that you think are good?
or not Honey Boy. Anything that I've watched, great. Apparently, people think that Marriage Story is a good indie film.
Haven't seen it.
Oh shit! Yep, that's actually a good indie film. I've completely forgot about it. Whiplash.
Yeah,
That's a good one. How it's a drummer that tries to like do better, and he ends up going into like a better band that's run by J.K. Simmons, and he's a complete asshole. That's a good movie.
Yeah, I've seen like some scenes from it. It seems like a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I love how it's like has this swallow. Oh, there's one that I've not seen, but I heard it was dumb. It's called Swiss Army Man.
I've heard of
Where
it.
essentially Daniel Radcliffe plays a dead guy. And he keeps farting a lot.
What?
Yep, and the guy who plays Riddler's in it. He plays the main character. The corpse washes art. Yeah, it's like he tries to resuscitate the body, but the corpse bemuses him with its excessive flatulence. So yeah, it's pretty dumb.
It sounds really stupid.
Yeah, and it got positive responses. Dallas Buyers Club is actually pretty good. Even though I don't know how it's considered to be an indie film. 12 Years a Slave is good. Jesus. That's like the only thing there's like other films that I think I've seen or heard of. Shit.
I love you're just doing this on the fly. Like I had a prepared list.
Well, I'm kind of cheating. I actually looked up like good indie films. Wait.
Yeah, to be fair, that's kind of what I did when I looked up some of the indie films because I wasn't sure if some of them were indie or not, or like I wasn't sure if some of them were indie or like if there's some like if all of them were actually indie.
Blue is the warmest color. That's one of them, and apparently I believe it's on Netflix, and it has lesbian sexuality in it.
Oh god, well that's one of those movies I was talking about where it's just like
For the sake of it.
No.
And apparently you can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, and that's sounds like right up Netflix's alley.
But it's an NC-17 movie.
I guess watch that if you really want to see lesbian sex.
Oh, you know what? I completely forgot about this movie, and I've actually seen it. It's called
What's
Short
that?
Bus.
Oh yeah, is it,
from Your Movie Sucks when he was talking about Nymphomaniac.
that's the one with Rosie O'Donnell as like a special needs person,
No.
right? Like her disabled. Wasn't it? I thought
No,
maybe I'm thinking of something else.
that's not it at all.
I thought it was.
No, it was about.
What movie am I thinking of though?
Okay.
Like there was.
Here's the whole
Dude,
thing.
okay, no. Hold on. I know I'm not crazy because I know there's a movie
on my.
with fucking.
Hold on, I'm gonna Rosie.
There is a movie with her as like a disabled
Gets
person.
on the bus. Why the fuck would you say this movie's about Rosie O'Donnell? I think it was called On the Bus with My Sister or something.
Okay, maybe that.
Let me look this up. Hang on one goddamn minute. Shut your mouth. I'm going to see if I can find this.
I could have sworn that's what you were talking
No.
about. 'Cause I feel like
riding the bus with my sister.
I think Adam talked about that. Like he talked about the movie that had her.
No, it was not about that one. This is okay. Okay, Short Bus. The plot revolves around a sexually diverse ensemble of colorful characters trying to desperately to connect in New York City. characters converge in a weekly Brooklyn artistic sexual saloon or a salon loosely inspired by various underground New York City gatherings that took place in the early 2000s. According to the director, John Michael Cameron, or James Cameron Mitchell. What else did this fucker make?
Not the James Cameron.
Not him, no. He made... Wow, he actually didn't really do much. He just did fucking TV shows. Anyways, according to the director, the film attempts to employ sex in a new cinematic ways because it's too interesting to leave to porn.
What does that mean?
Okay. Short Bus includes a variety of explicit scenes containing non-simulated sexual intercourse with visible penetration and male ejaculation. So essentially, the actors in this movie legitimately had sex.
Well, I mean, there are other movies where the actors legitimately had.
No, most films they don't show.
What?
They show having sex.
Oh well, you mean they don't show?
Yeah, it's not sex. Yeah. This movie, it's actually you see the penis go into the vagina, and apparently there's scenes where gay guys have sex. It is an interesting movie. I will say that much.
It's interesting, but it's honestly, like, I'll be honest, it's not something I would watch, or it's not something I'd watch.
I did because Adam's like, hey, it's a good movie about sexuality, so I was like, okay, I'll buy it, and I bought it off of Amazon, and hey, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just not really my kind of movie, to be honest.
Yeah, but God damn, that's how we're going to end the topic about indie films. Hey, there's a movie with sex in it.
Like a great way to end it.
Yeah, great way to end that one. So, let's see. I think that's it for like indie films and all that. Like we talked about games that needed attention. We talked about films that needed attention. DC Fandome, fucking Veggie Tales, and how we stand on Netflix.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty wide range of topics.
We did. So you know what? Let's just move on to the last two things that we have, which is what we like this week. Okay. You start that one off. I gotta recover.
Okay. All right. Well, it is at least relevant to what we were talking about, but I would say what I like this week is I don't know. I guess you would say what I like this week is Twin Peaks, because I've been trying to finish that up. Watched the final. I guess you could say it's the final season technically of Twin Peaks. I watched it's Twin Peaks: The Return, which is season 3. I think this came out in like 2017, but I just not too long ago started watching Twin Peaks and watched all of it, and I started watching The Return a while back, and been meaning to finish it, so I got around to doing that, and that finale, wow. So season 2 had a pretty insane cliffhanger finale, and we had to wait 25 years for this. I will say, like, I was very confused after finishing it, and I mean, it is David Lynch, so I do expect to be confused, but I had very mixed feelings. On one hand, it's like it's a pretty crazy way to end it. On the other hand, it's there's not really or at least initially it would seem there is no real resolution. Now, if you really think about things, you will realize that in a way it is kind of a resolution, but it's also just sort of trying to, in a way, defy your expectations, or I guess you could say sort of subvert them, but not in the cheap Rian Johnson way, in a way that's clever, actually. So I don't know. It's like if you go into this expecting to have your have things work out in the way you would want them to as a fan of the series, I feel like you'll kind of be a little bit disappointed, because the show kind of goes out of its way to say that's not what's going to happen, but in a way it's actually kind of clever, and you walk away with it where you're like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen any other director go out of his way to kind of make things end in such a crazy and unique sort of way where it's just kind of, like, what the hell was that? And it's not in that it was bad writing or anything. It's actually very good, but it's one of those things where you really have to, there's so much to it, and there's so many like different things that you really need to go back and think about how one thing connects to another, and you realize there is a reason why it happened that way. But I would say, yeah, in a way, like on the surface, it would seem like there isn't much of a resolution, and in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad. Like, in the good ways, it contributes to the mystery aspect of the show, and that, there's always something that you're not sure about, and the show doesn't go out of its way to explain things, and it just kind of leaves the viewer wondering, and in that sense, you'll get what you wanted out of this ending, but in the sense that it ties things up in a nice little bow and wraps it up in a box, then no, you won't be getting that. And that's how it leaves you. It leaves you you're just like, what is this? And I'm not sure how to feel about it, so take that as you will. But I just finished it, and I'm just like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think could have been better, but it's what we got, and I think I liked some of the things we got from it, because I do feel bad for the people that waited 25 years and they wanted some happy sort of resolution and them not getting it, but I feel like a lot of Twin Peaks fans will probably understand that that's not what they should expect out of this. But for someone who's just like recently started watching the series and finished it, I'm a little bit more open-minded about it, I guess. It could have been worse. We could have got like a season 3 that was terrible, but it was good because David Lynch was heavily involved with it, as opposed to how he was involved in the first 2 seasons, where he wasn't as heavily involved in those. But this is pretty much his conclusion to as far as I know, his supposed conclusion to the story. There could be another season, because I feel like there's more you could expand upon, so maybe there'll eventually be a season 4, but as for now, it's just season 3, and I'm guessing that's kind of where things are supposedly ending for Twin Peaks.
Supposedly that... Oh, I didn't even know that. Apparently there's a movie on Twin Peaks.
Yeah, the Fire Walk with Me. It's a prequel.
Is it any good, though?
Yeah, it's good. I would say the whole series is good. It's just, expect weirdness, because of course it's David Lynch, so it's going to be weird. Expect it being really weird and surreal. Fun fact, so David Bowie makes a cameo in Fire Walk with Me.
I saw David Bowie as like Nick.
He's Philip Jeffries.
I was like, why the fuck is David Bowie in this?
David Bowie puts on a southern accent too. That's the funny part.
It looks interesting.
Yeah. In Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, or not Fire Walk, but Twin Peaks The Return, his character comes back, but of course David Bowie can't come back. So,
yeah, how can a dead man come back?
He comes back as a giant kettle-looking thing, because... okay, so I'll explain. There is the dream-like alternate world in Twin Peaks where things are weird and surrealistic. So, yeah, his character turns into a fucking weird... goes into the dream-like world and becomes a weird kettle thing. Or teapot, kettle, whatever. And you just hear his voice speak through it.
It just seems a bit bizarre.
It's bizarre, but that's one of the things I like about Lynch. He's very weird, very bizarre.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. But how about you, Levy? What did you like this one?
Well, I started getting back into the VR again, and I've been playing Pistol Whip. Pistol Whip, best way to describe it, it's a rhythm game, but you use guns. the best way I could describe it. And apparently, it makes you feel like you're John Wick. Yeah, it's like you're John Wick with equilibrium. That's one of the best ways to describe it.
That could be. That sounds interesting.
The best. Okay, how they describe this game: it is an unstoppable action rhythm FPS. Journey through a cinematic bullet hell powered by a breakneck soundtrack to become the ultimate action hero legend. Really, it's already out now, and it's on PS4 and other VR headsets. I highly recommend it. It's a good way to play VR. It's not as good as Beat Saber, but at least it makes you feel like you're John Wick or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's good. We do need like an official. Well, I mean, we do technically have the John Wick game.
Yeah,
I kind of want something that's more like representative of the movies.
Yeah, like you put like kind of like John Woo type thing.
Yeah,
but there's one more thing, but it's actually it's like something my girlfriend and I started watching because she found it through BuzzFeed. No, this one's actually kind of interesting. It's when they do unsolved like true crimes that happened. Like it's actually kind of interesting, like to hear all these like facts about the crime that happened and it was never solved. It's actually kind of like interesting to listen to.
I've seen a lot of shows like that, shows that have similar things to that.
Like Tonight Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? They had one where it's talked about, fuck, I'm trying to think. Because it had to deal with, hold on, I gotta look this up, hang on. Unsolved Mystery. Because his name was like...
I think that's on Netflix, isn't it? The Unsolved Mystery
Yeah,
show?
it is. Hang on. Hold on. I'm actually trying to remember it now. It's like Unsolved Mysteries. Somebody. I keep forgetting now. Hold on. It's like Devereaux. That's what it was. Doug Johnson. Apparently.
Okay. Oh, Don Johnson.
Yeah, Doug Johnson.
Yeah, I know. Isn't he from like Miami Vice or something?
No, this is what happened. This was dealing with a because Unsolved Mysteries did a fucking cover on Charles Morgan, who was a secret agent for the Department of Treasury. They found him dead. Don Devereaux did a story on it, and someone else got killed. Someone thought that they were Don Devereaux. They killed him, which was a coincidence because where the guy was killed was across the street where Don Devereaux lived. So, kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. Yeah, but I think we could probably let's see.
Well, I think we already know the answer to this question, which was the do you think indie games or films are better than AAA titles or AAA films? If so, or agree, explain the reasoning.
Yeah. I guess you would say, like, in some ways, yes. Well, this is true of both movies and games. They deal with, they have interesting ways of approaching different ideas, and they explore various different concepts and ideas that are not typically explored in, like, bigger indie games or bigger games or bigger movies, or, like, blockbuster movies. The directors are typically at least passionate about like what they're doing. It's not just done because studios want to make a fuck ton of money or something like that, which is more often than not at least the motivating factor behind a lot of these big budget games, big budget movies, or just like really big blockbusters. A lot of it, usually, at least with like smaller budget indie movies, it comes from just the director being passionate about what they want to do, and that passion, I feel, comes through very well in the movie most of the time. You do get this sometimes with bigger movies where you have a passionate director and all that, but I feel like it comes through a lot more with indie movies just because you get more people who are who just care more about making a good movie rather than just making a fuck ton of money off of it. Same thing is true for games too, though.
Yeah. With me though, like I'm kind of on the fence with this. Like I kind of want to say yes and no. They could be better.
That's pretty much what I was.
But yeah, because it depends on what you're conveying. Like example, like if it came to like, well, say for example, I would say like Stardew Valley. For yeah, I love how I'm bringing this back up again. Like Stardew Valley, when that game came out, was it one of the better games that came out in 2016? Yeah. Did I like it more than some of the AAA titles? Yes. And then you look at other AAA titles that came out, and you see like, was it Gone Home? And you're like, Gone Home sucks. Rather play the AAA title.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's that too. Like, you know, with both independent movies and games, like you get these really pretentious things where, you know, people, they'll make something that isn't really all that special, but they think it's, you know, the best thing ever, and they think they're trying to say something when they, like I said, they end up saying nothing.
Well, I was also going to say, like, it also depends, because if you're tired of the same AAA major films and games, you can always look to indie games to find something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you get some indie films and indie movies that tell a better story and convey a better message than most AAA titles.
Yeah, and like like we mentioned earlier, like they deal with choices and stuff, or just various different choices you can make in the game in a more interesting way than a lot of these like AAA games do.
Yeah, like I could tell this year some AAA titles are actually kind of good, but then you have indie titles that kind of make up for the bad AAA games.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's kind of like one of those vicious cycles. Like on some months, good indie games, bad AAA or mediocre ones. On some months, mediocre indie games, but good AAA titles. It's a vicious cycle that goes back and forth with each other. But ultimately, it just depends on what you're trying to make.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, so I don't know unless you have anything else to say about that.
That's all I really got to say.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and do our plugs. As always, of course, you can find me at Captain Kaos at YouTube, Twitter. You can find me as Enigmatic Arts on Instagram, where I, of course, share my art. You can also find me on Etsy at Enigmatic Prints, where I sell my prints. Levy is Levy the Amish Man across Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yep, across everything. But sadly enough, that way I'm going to end this. Hurricane's coming my way.
Yeah, apparently.
So
hopefully Texas doesn't get it.
Yeah, I was
going
to say, to anyone that lives in Texas, like close to the Gulf, be safe out there. Do whatever you can to be safe.
Panic buy.
Get all the bottled water. Get all the tea. Get all the watermelon tea. Get all the toilet paper. All the hand sanitizer.
Get all the hand sanitizer. Yep, but we've been going for a fucking while. We've been going for almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
it's like 2 hours 47 minutes.
I blame VeggieTales.
Blame
I blame the guy who created Five Nights at Freddy's.
I blame anybody that's distracting us.
Remember, everyone, be good Christians and watch your VeggieTales. And until next time, we will see you.
Don't watch Cuties. It sucks.